Christy Heinrich. In addition to having a family, you are a PT, physical therapist, professor, and run the CP Soccer program at the Bridge. You keep stepping into roles where people are trying to become more capable. Why do you think that kind of work keeps pulling you in?
Since I was a little girl, I have 2 little sisters, they're twins. I have always wanted to be the one that helps them grow, helps them get better, and that transcended throughout all of my life.
Mm.
I did again, as a little girl, we played school all the time. I always wanted to help them, and then just growing up, I used to wanna be a pediatrician.
Oh,
Again, roles healthcare roles were always in my wheelhouse, but I saw my grandpa go through a stroke
oh.
and watched him rehab and knew that PT was for me. Um, and I think, I was concerned about switching into a professor role,
Mhm.
just because I didn't know if I'd miss the patient interaction. But students, you're teaching them just the same. You're helping them get better. You're helping them find purpose in their life.
Mhm.
Um, and then from the soccer, the coaching perspective, I played soccer growing up. I played through college or part of college.
Yeah.
And again, there was a part of me that wanted to be a pediatric PT.
Mhm.
And so when the role came up, I was like, now look, I can combine my love of PT, my love of helping others, my love of soccer, and get the kid aspect to it. So I love being around people and seeing them shine.
Yeah.
I love light bulb moments. I love when they feel proud of themselves. So I think
Yeah.
that's why these things kind of draw me in all the time.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. For those that don't know you, can you, is there anything else that we missed there about who you are?
I'm a mom and a
Okay.
wife as well. I and a friend, obviously. I have one son. My husband's a PT. We met in college.
Yeah.
So we both went to Mount St. Joe together, met in PT school. And then I have one son. He's 17, which still I don't understand how that's even possible.
Yeah.
Um, Super close to my family, very, very close knit. Mom, dad, my 2 little sisters are twins, like I said.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's who I am.
My nephew just graduated high school,
Yeah,
and it's like, man, he's my first nephew that's
yeah.
done that, and it's like, wow, like where did the time go?
It's unreal. I have a niece and a nephew who are oh gosh, can't mess this up. My niece just turned 7 and my nephew will be 11, and I'm like, "How? You guys were just babies.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were just babies."
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm uh, slightly ashamed to admit that I don't think I could tell you the age. I have 7 nieces and nephews, so, like, it's like, yeah, they're around this age, like, I don't know. So, okay, can you explain how we know each other?
Yes, absolutely. So, long story short, I started teaching at Mount St. Joe in 2018. We have to do research as part of our, you know, contract there.
Mhm.
And way back when, somebody had reached out from Cincinnati Tennis Foundation asking for help with some research work to write grants and different things like that. So, Julie had reached out to me, and I knew again that I wanted to get into the adaptive sports world at some point because I kind of knew what was going on, just in the area. And so she reached out. So I willingly volunteered, and I actually came to the Cincinnati Tennis Foundation when I'm not a tennis girl, but when the USTA, United States Tennis, is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When they came and put on that course, and then I met you there.
Yep.
So that was the first time I met you, and then just recently, I asked you to come back and help me with one of my classes at Mount St. Joe.
Yeah, and what class was that?
Yeah, so our students go through a 3-year curriculum. The first 2 years are all didactic,
There you go.
and the 3rd before they go out on their clinicals, the 3rd year, there is a period for electives.
Mhm.
So I, this year, for the first time, held an adaptive sports elective. The goal behind that was to bring people in to share their stories about how they got involved in the programming of whatever adaptive sports, or if they played, just to kind of teach my students what is out there in the world. Because I feel like that's one of the biggest disservices is that our patients don't know what they're missing out on.
Yeah.
So the more therapists we can teach
Mhm.
what's out there, the better. So Yeah, I had you come in and talk to my 19 of the 44 students in that cohort, or 43 students in that cohort, took the adaptive sports elective. So I find that, I mean, that's 50% almost. So
Yeah.
I was pretty pumped on that number.
Yeah, that's fascinating that that many people
Yeah.
were interested in
Yeah.
that elective piece.
Yeah.
And you know, I've talked to other PTs who have been on the podcast about like making sure that you get PTs like involved with that like fairly early on so
Mhm.
that they know what that community looks like and maybe even
Absolutely.
rope them into to helping out further. So
100%. Yeah.
and it's also cool because like you know with Danny Meyer and
Mhm.
with the bridge and like there's a lot of like PTs that have like kind of identified that you know with Iron Core and Dan Scheid and all that too. So it's pretty cool. Um, what I so I'm curious talking going back to the class, and me coming there. I think I said a few things that were potentially controversial in the disabled community, and I was wondering if you disagreed with anything that I said.
I did not disagree. I was actually glad you said some of the things you did because, and I actually wanted to talk about this. We talked a lot about word usage, and
Yeah,
I feel like there is such a push to use the correct words that we're almost not even just speaking to each other because I'm
yeah,
afraid I'm going to offend somebody or say the wrong thing. So I actually really appreciated that you said we just need to just, use not use the wrong words, but
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes because the
Yeah.
majority of the disabled community does not care, and
Yeah.
those that do, I think, need to look inward.
Yeah, it is. It's just really hard because again, you have the words disabled, you have handicap, you have special needs, whatever you want to use,
Yeah,
and it's like, what should I say? What am I allowed to say? Not allowed to say? And
yeah,
and then I feel like I'm just drawing myself inward and not actually just talking to you like a human,
exactly.
and you're just a human.
You're dancing around on eggshells.
Yeah, and
Just
I don't want that. I
yeah,
just want to talk to you like a person.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, was there anything so the words thing, I talk about that on
yeah,
the podcast a lot.
yeah.
Was there anything else that was, like, maybe borderline controversial that I said?
I know my students and I talked about this, and actually, I need to send you the article that one of my students wrote for the newsletter that we
Oh,
do. They commented on what you said, but they actually took it to heart and loved what you had said.
okay.
But the piece where you said, I don't want somebody to tell me I'm their inspiration
Yeah,
just for getting out of bed in the morning.
yeah,
And again, I think it's very controversial in some settings. I completely respected that you said that because,
mhm.
again, you and I both got up, we put our shoes on this morning. So, what makes that better that you did that versus me doing that?
Right, right.
Um, but I don't think you hear that from everybody in the disabled community. I think some people, to them, it is a feat and it is hard. I'm not saying it's not hard for
Yeah.
you to get up and put your shoes on in the morning, but some mornings it's hard for me to get up and put my shoes on in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, right.
So no, I feel like that was a controversial topic that my
Yeah.
students talked about after the fact. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, I like to bring up things that
stir the
like
pot.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting? I'm always like just analyzing things after the fact, and
Mhm.
I love trying to figure out like even just if it's just a little bit how I can improve like in a setting like that,
Yeah.
right? And so like one of the things that I thought after the fact was um maybe so it's an adaptive sports elective,
Mhm.
right? And I did talk adaptive sports, but I also talked about, you know, inspiration and words and stuff like that. And I thought those were important enough to bring up,
Yes.
but at the same time, that wasn't necessarily the point of the class. And so I was just curious, like, what you think that ratio was and how it was with my
Yeah.
conversation.
So honestly, I feel like where I had you placed in the course itself,
Yeah.
that worked out really well because
Yeah.
you were actually our last
Right.
speaker. So we had 4 other speakers come in and talk about how to start a program or what, different things like that. So I almost felt like it was good to hear that
Yeah.
because it was a different
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
still relevant, but different.
Yeah.
So I almost felt like that was good.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say you weren't the only one to talk kind of off the sports thing. So
Right.
Jake counts it as well, which again, my students appreciated. I think there
Right.
was more engagement with those conversations
Yeah.
than there were with just talking about what adaptive tennis looks like.
Sure, sure.
So
Do, do some of your guests bring, like, slideshows or stuff like that?
I had one person who did. It was Tyler Bradshaw from the Miracle League.
Okay.
So obviously they've got their spiel.
Mhm.
So he did bring a big slideshow. Everybody else was just off the cuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting. Because I was like, as I was preparing for that, for like, I was just brainstorming like different topics
Mhm.
and stuff like that with my mom. I was telling her about it, and I was like, it seems pretty casual.
Very.
So I was just like, I could go with like some pictures from like when I played sports as a junior and stuff like that, but I was like, nah, like
Yeah.
I'll bring my tennis chair, and if they wanna play around with it, then we're good to go, so,
No,
um,
I think that's absolutely appropriate.
yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting any slideshows or
Yeah,
anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, that was interesting because we didn't get to debrief on
Mhm.
this, but
Mhm.
before, and I always like debriefing on stuff like this,
Yeah.
so, if you weren't here in the studio right now, what
Mhm.
would you be doing?
Tonight I would be packing for a baseball tournament.
Oh,
My son, he's, like I said, 17. He plays summer ball, so travel baseball, and we leave for Atlanta tomorrow morning.
oh,
So
fun.
summer ball, I tell you what, they have no consideration for adults' jobs.
Yeah.
This tournament goes from it's Thursday through Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have to leave tomorrow because it's a 8-hour drive or whatever it
Okay.
is.
Wow.
This is the second out of town tournament this summer, so
Okay.
that's where I would be, is packing, and I also just moved, so
Okay.
we're a month into our new house, so I would probably still be unboxing a few things
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit.
How's that going so far?
It's
The
good.
move.
It's not too bad. I'm kind of crazy about organizing.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good and bad thing about me. I'm the person who, when she comes back from vacation, my luggage is unloaded, washed, and put away before I go to bed that night. So
Oh, wow.
I'm kind of crazy. But yeah, so almost everything is put away. We just have some stuff in the garage that needs to go through. So
Okay, nice.
yeah.
I am not that kind of person. Usually when I get home from, like, a trip, I'm like, I just wanna relax,
Yeah.
and I don't know, like, some trips are great and relaxing, but most trips I like to, be on the go,
Yeah.
and so it's like, "Alright, I'm tired," so,
Yeah.
real quick, I wanna go back to something, that kinda goes back to my childhood.
Mhm.
So when I was a junior, I played wheelchair tennis pretty
Mhm.
competitively, traveling all around the world. And my parents, at the age of 15, let me go to France on my own. Now, when I say on my own, I flew out of Columbus,
Mhm.
which that's where I was born and raised, and then I met with people in like Chicago, and then we flew the rest of the way to France. So when you said you have a 17-year-old kid who you're taking to a tournament, uh, how do you feel about them traveling like that on their own?
I I think I would be okay with that. I think I don't know if you were an only child, but I
Uh,
only have 1,
yeah.
and so I feel like if I miss anything, I'm
Uh,
missing everything,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I always think it's a first and a last for every major event, right?
Yeah,
Like, nobody else is going to Atlanta, I don't have somebody following him up, so I
yeah.
think that's the difference in my perspective on traveling with him.
Sure.
I think from a logistics standpoint, sure, I'd let him go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's part of
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, in short, you'd be fine letting him go, but you want to be there for those moments,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I know. I know parenting. Some people parent differently, so I was just curious about your take.
No,
So,
so interesting. I actually just I know you had mentioned I coach CP soccer. We just sent 2 boys to New Jersey for the first time away from their home,
okay.
away from their parents for a sleepaway camp.
How old?
The one is they're probably both 11 or 12,
Oh,
somewhere around
wow.
there. So little. Yeah.
Okay.
So parents flew with them, drove them, but then the boys stayed on site by themselves.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's exciting. Yeah,
yeah.
I think as a kid, and I'm trying to we're trying to do this is like with the bridge. As a kid, my most memorable camps were those adaptive sports camps that were like multi-day long,
Hmm.
and it takes a lot. It
Yeah.
takes a lot to do that, especially if you have kids that maybe can't take care of themselves
Hmm.
fully, like and all that. So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, um, okay. Everybody, welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast. It's a podcast of people who keep rolling forward no matter what life throws at them. Real people, real stories, powered by purpose, resilience, and a drive that never ends. I'm Zach Sikora. Spina bifida didn't stop me. It just gave me a better excuse to sit down while I take over the world. Um, Today's funny t-shirt is I can't stand wheelchair jokes. Just a little bit of humor there. You can get the shirt at my t-shirt store, rollingforward.printful.me. And if one ask that I have of you all is if this is your if you've watched a few episodes and you're really enjoying it, it would mean the world to me if you subscribed, left a comment and let me know that you're watching. You're a regular viewer. I definitely appreciate it. I read all the comments. So I'm at this point I'm a small channel. So anyway, let's keep rolling into today's episode with Christy Heinrich. Okay, the theme podcast question: what keeps you rolling forward, Christy?
Honestly, it's smiles on people's faces.
Mm,
I love just to make people happy. I love to help people find their passion, their purpose, whether that be a patient, a student, or an athlete.
mm,
That's what keeps me moving.
yeah, I love that. When life gets hard, what do you tend to lean on?
My husband,
Yeah.
my best friend. So I definitely use my family. As I said, my mom and dad and sisters and I are all very, very close. So I lean on that. Um, I have a very strong, in my opinion, mental attitude on life. I read
Yeah.
through a lot of self-development books growing up. I did struggle for a while with some issues through college mentally,
Mm,
and so I went on a nice self-development journey, and I really feel like that is kind of when things aren't going well, I go back to those things that I read
yeah.
and notes that I took, and then that kinda helps me to keep rolling forward too.
Yeah.
So
You said mental health
mhm.
struggles in college, and I instantly thought of Brooke
Yeah,
Tao.
yeah.
And it's interesting. Before I talked to her, I never really thought about that demographic of
Mhm.
people needing help. The college grad, even college students in general. But I had mental health issues in college as well.
Yeah.
So
I unfortunately, I think it's definitely an overlooked population because, you figure there's such a big change from high school to college. You might be on your own, studying's different, the grades might not be the same, all of those things, and
yeah,
it's like you're used to doing it with others that I don't know. I just feel like it's
yeah.
definitely a
Yeah, and
undercooked.
it's often your first time out of the house, you're
Exactly.
trying to figure things out,
Mhm.
and yeah, anyway. Um, tell me, tell me about a failure or hard lesson that shaped you, and while you're thinking about that, I just wanna touch on this. I'm really big on failure,
Mhm.
and one of the reasons is because in my early adult life, and even as a kid, I didn't wanna fail. Like, I tried to avoid it, and it wasn't until I started listening to podcasts and stuff like that, and like, Alex Hormozy, someone I quote often on the podcast, he's a business guy, and he says, Anytime that I'm going through something hard, I think, this will be the story that I'll one day tell."
Mm.
And that's his drive to, like, keep him going, and I've reshaped the word failure in my head, and so I just I'm curious if you have a story about failure that maybe you can think of. If not, that's fine. We can move on. I know that's a tough question.
Yeah, no, that is a tough question because I too failure always seemed like such a negative thing. Um, Before I tell a story, two books or one book, Fear is My Homeboy is a
Okay.
phenomenal book that talks about being afraid of failing and being afraid of all the different, different things that can happen in life. But it tells you how to embrace it and make fear your homeboy. So great book if you need a book. Also, there was, gosh, I don't remember who said it, but basically something under of the effect of, you're not failing if you always are trying again. So I tell my students that all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not a failure unless you're giving up.
Yeah.
This is just something to learn from. It's something to grow from. Honestly, I feel like I've been a pretty blessed human and haven't had too many terrible failing moments in my life.
Sure.
I think probably one of the things, and I don't know if I want to say it's a failure, but more of I felt like a disappointment,
Mm.
which almost feels like failure,
Yeah.
is when I was in high school. So I said I played soccer. I freshman year, sophomore year, junior year played. Well, then somehow my junior year, I was riding the pine, right? And the coach was not the best. I mean, everybody else thought he was great. I didn't love him.
Mhm.
I got ridden all the time, it was constantly Chris, like yelling, Chrissy this, Chrissy that, which my dad always said, it's just because he cares. He knows you can do better, which, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But I actually decided to quit. So I quit soccer my senior year and didn't play. And as silly as it is, I'm sure it did not disappoint my parents, but I felt like I was disappointing my parents because I had spent so much time and they had spent so much time and money and training and, travel and all of that to get me to that point.
Mhm.
Um, so that was hard. I mean, again, not a failure. It was my own choice,
Yeah.
but again, I felt like a disappointment. And to me, disappointing somebody is worse than failing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's interesting. There's a lot of people. I think if I would have quit tennis, I'm sure my parents would have been disappointed. Like,
yeah.
what is, so let me ask you this. One thing that another thing about failure that I've been thinking about a lot recently is like one of the key indicators to success is grit.
Mhm.
And but at the same time, there's there's a line, right? And so I'm curious, like, what do you think where do you think that line is? Like there's so many people that'll try something for a couple months and they're like, "Oh, that wasn't for me." And it's like, well, maybe it was, and you just didn't give it the old college try, but maybe it wasn't,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think an example that I have is like I've been disabled all my life. If I had my mindset on being a football player, a professional football player, like in the NFL, like that's just not realistic. And I think to tie that back to like people have different strengths and weaknesses, and just because they like something doesn't mean that they should keep pursuing it because there's
Mhm.
other things that they're probably good at that they like. So anyway, what's your take on that?
That's a great question. Um, I feel like as a child, there is a point where you can't let them give up. Like you said, it's if you start something, you got to finish it out and see it through.
Mm.
I do believe that. Now, if I had a kid come to me crying every day, hated practice, hated their life, hated whatever it was, sure, I can see maybe pulling them. But I do think there is an amount of grit. Like you've got to learn to do hard things.
Mhm.
And what better way than, through sports or through music or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've got to learn at some point how to do hard things. You can't just walk away from something just because you don't like it. You're
Right.
not going to like a person you work with. You're not going to like your job at some point, and you got to give it the good old college try.
Right.
Um, but I do think that it's really important, and I don't know at what age this happens, and maybe you have an age in mind. At some point, you've got to look inside yourself and be able to kind of weigh the, am I is this what's the Marie Kondo thing?
Oh.
The where you like, is there value in this T-shirt, right? Do
Oh.
I get value out of this? Is this something that I'm loving, or can I put my passion somewhere else? But I don't know
Yeah.
what age do you think that is? I don't know.
So it's interesting. You're thinking about it from an age perspective, which I agree with. There is an age, I suppose, but it's also like, I mean, even as an adult, it's like, okay, I mean, I'm sure adults out there are thinking the same thing. Like whether it's a
Mhm.
hobby or whatever else, it's like, can be any age. Um, but going back to like kids, I think if your kid goes, "Hey, I want to play soccer this season," and they do it for a couple weeks, and they're like, "No, I don't like that," then it's like, "No, no, no, like you committed to
Mm,
this. I paid all this money, bought your uniform, all that. You're gonna play soccer because this is what you committed to." And so, next season you can reevaluate that, pick a different sport, whatever else. But I don't know. Like as you said, if they're coming crying to you like all the time, it's like okay, well, maybe after a couple weeks it would be okay,
mm,
but I don't know. I think I want to address that on like case by case. Is this
yeah,
person being too soft or
yeah.
whatever, and just needs to buck up? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
So speaking of from an adult and finding purpose and passion, whatever, I decided last year before Christmas that I really wanted to get into decorating like cookies.
uh,
Never have I been artistic in my life.
okay.
Never, ever, ever. But I was like, scrolled through too many Facebook videos of cookie decorating. And I was like, that looks so fun,
Yeah.
so enjoyable. And I am a very, very, very type A person. Like things need to be perfect.
Okay.
So everybody was like, my husband was like, no, there's no way you're going to do this and you're going to hate it because it's not going to be perfect the first time. But I've loved it and they're not great.
Uh,
My sister got me a cookbook of how to make the icing and I could spend hours sitting there at night decorating cookies.
uh,
So did I think I would be good at it? No, not at all. I thought I'd be terrible at it, but it looked fun to me, so I took the time. And if when I was doing that, it was terrible and I was ticked off all the time and throwing things, then sure, I would have stopped it. But
yeah.
like I found a love in it and it's so relaxing to me. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I think in another world, one thing that's really relaxing to me is just making stuff with clay,
Yeah.
like on a wheel. It's like anytime I've done that, I've done it a couple times in my life, and it's so soothing. And the other thing is with cookies, I suppose you can mess up a cookie, but if it doesn't look good, it still probably tastes good.
Exactly. It still tastes good. Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, anyway, okay, let's talk, about your childhood. So who were you as a kid?
I was a tomboy through and
Oh,
through.
okay,
I also was the straight A student,
okay,
all the way through college. I'm the oldest child, so
of how many?
just 3. So
Okay,
me and them I have 2 little sisters, they're twins, Kim and Kelly. They are they'll be 30 no, they'll be 40 this year.
okay,
It's their 40th.
alright.
Sorry, girls.
Yeah,
Just told on ya. But yeah, so just the 3 girls. Mom and dad, my dad jokes all the time because, when you get 3 girls, he always says most people get 3 strikes and they're out. And since they're twins, he only got 2 strikes before he was out. So, he jokes all the time. But no, I grew up in Delhi, which is down by the river in
yeah,
Cincinnati, and lived down there my entire life.
okay,
Went to school down that way at Oak Hills, and I moved up to Fairfield Township when I got married. So I lived down in Delhi, went to school at Mount St. Joe,
okay,
but super close-knit family. We all grew up playing sports. I played soccer, basketball, volleyball. Uh, I tried softball once. They stuck me in right field, and it was so boring. I went
yeah.
after a soccer practice where you run around the whole time, and then I was allowed to quit after the first practice because I hated it. I was like, "This is" yeah, it was terrible.
So in adaptive sports, they have softball,
Yeah.
and, like, there's no, like, baseball, so to speak, that I'm aware of, but, I definitely did the same thing. They're like, "Hey, Zach, come out here," and, like, I was fast, I was athletic, and so they're like, "Yeah, you can run bases," and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and it's like you're either waiting to bat or you're waiting for a ball to come to you in the small chance it comes to you in the outfield, and I'm like, "Nope, this isn't for me."
Not at all.
Couldn't do
Not
it,
at all.
couldn't do it.
Nope.
So, you mentioned you're type A. Are you introverted or extroverted?
Very much introverted.
Introverted,
I
okay.
am. I am a super bubbly person,
Yeah,
but I as soon as I leave here, I will go home and crash. I won't say a word to my husband and son, and I will crash. I love people, but I love being alone and just and quiet. Actually, when I told my parents I wanted to be a physical therapist, they were like, "There's no way." I didn't even talk to my grandparents until I was like 12 years old. I
Wow.
was so shy.
Wow.
So the fact that I talk to people and actually stand in front of people and teach now, it's unreal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to dive into this a little bit deeper because I'm very curious. So like, I'm an extreme extrovert. So like, I used to work like in customer facing roles, and I did that for a very long time, and then like now I'm doing podcasts and stuff like that, and it seems fitting for me. But if someone were to hear that you're such an extreme extrovert and then hear that you're a PT, a student, like teach students, and then do all this with PT soccer, like that seems like almost an oxymoron.
Yeah.
But you still get so much joy out of doing it.
I do. And honestly, it's more of the one-on-one stuff that brings me the joy. So patient care, I
Yeah.
have always done the places I've worked have always been one-on-one.
Mm,
I've never done like where I've had to bounce from person to person. Like I've really gotten to know my patients. Um, as if you ask me in the classroom, sure, I used to sweat bullets to stand in the front of the room and lecture. That's better. I'm getting like that's fine. But my passion is when I get to be with those small groups of people and teach them in smaller groups.
uh,
And then at soccer, again, it's you're more one-on-one. I'm not meant to be entertaining crowds.
yeah.
Now, I will say again, if my soccer players listen to this, they would die because I am the loud voice at practice. Like,
Yeah.
I am the one who's like, "Everybody in," but,
Yeah, well, it's funny because you did say that in this class that you have other people come out, and it's like, oh, that kind of fits your
yep,
personality.
yep.
Like, have other people do the talking.
Exactly, exactly. I'm like, "How can I structure this course? I will have everybody else come in and do it for me."
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
much.
right. Well, yeah. So on the one-on-one conversations, does your social battery still drain a little bit,
Not
or
nearly as bad.
okay?
No, not nearly as
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. But it still drains.
Yeah.
You still have to introvert after
Yeah,
all that.
and I will say I'm a big empath too, so,
Mm.
like, I feel people's emotions, and I am my coworkers joke because I am the room that the office that every student comes to cry in. They come
Oh,
for hugs. I'm a hugger, like,
yeah,
that's my love language, right? I, like, always am hugging, um, but I want to be there for them. I physically that's what I want to do, but
yeah,
then I take all of that home and it just strains you
yeah.
because I'm feeling all of their emotions too,
Right, right.
which
Well,
honestly, as I've gotten older, it's getting better.
yeah. Wait, the draining is getting
Yeah,
better?
yeah.
Okay. I think I have a second question too, but I'll start with this one. I think part of that comes with like, I one of the things that I find, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some introverts don't know how to act in social situations, and so that's just so draining to try to, I don't know, blend in or
Mhm.
whatever else, and so that just further drains, and then oftentimes they're self-critiquing themselves along the way, and it's just like, "Ah, okay, now I'm alone, I can breathe, I can be myself."
Yeah, yeah. You'll probably notice, I mean, there's times where I feel like I have trouble finding words, and it's not
Ah,
because I don't know what to say, it's because I'm nervous about what to say. I'm like, I feel like I'm having to perform, and
yeah,
yeah, so I 100% agree with that. There is a lot of wheels turning in my brain right now,
yeah.
like when I am put on display.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like part of that's just type A,
True,
right?
that's true too. Yeah,
But it could be both combined,
yeah,
like
absolutely, absolutely.
like yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. Did did sports, healthcare, teaching, or service show up in your life early?
All of the above.
Okay.
So I said this earlier, as a kid, my favorite thing to play was school.
Mm,
I used to make my sisters sit down there and watch me write on the chalkboard and teach them math and all of that. So that's been a passion of mine, which is super interesting that I didn't go into teaching.
Yeah.
That was not a career choice I wanted. Um, I don't know why. Maybe it's the unfortunate pay or I don't know. But that definitely was something I've grown up enjoying is teaching others.
Yeah.
Sports I've played since I was very, very little. So that came in again super early. Um, that's I came from a family that played sports. My dad coached us, so it was yeah, nothing there.
Yeah.
The what was the other ones we were talking about? Teaching, sports.
It was, healthcare
Oh, healthcare.
teaching service.
Yes. Healthcare wise, again, my grandpa had that stroke.
Mm,
And I knew prior to that that I wanted to be in healthcare. As I said, I wanted to be a pediatrician. I wanted to work with kids. I wanted to and I won't I just thought that would be great, but that's what I knew because that's who I had seen.
mhm.
So I think it was the exposure of a pediatrician, and that's why I wanted to be that.
Yeah.
And then I was exposed to PT with my grandpa and seeing the way that they were able to spend time with their patients
Mm,
and be with them for more than 5 minutes like a pediatrician is,
yeah.
I think really spoke to me because again, it's like you get that you can care. Like I'm a very compassionate person, so it's like, having that time to be able to listen and let somebody tell their story, and pediatricians unfortunately don't get that time. It's
Mhm.
insurance driven, so that was kind of where that spoke to me. Service, yes, I grew up going to church.
Mm,
My parents are very service driven. We've always done different activities. I will say that starting as a teaching role in 2018, my amount of service has significantly gone up
hmm.
because I have loved exposing students to the service that I do.
Yeah.
So I have I have I'm like kind of the adaptive sports liaison at Mount St. Joe, and I always have a student who is my student lead
Mm,
who shares all of the activities that are going on in the adaptive sports world.
cool.
We have a quarterly newsletter we send out to the students, and but that was kind of I feel like I've started doing more just because I've wanted to expose them to it,
Yeah.
not because and maybe it's because my kid is older, so I have more time to do that. When they're little, you're at their beck and call all the time, but
Mhm.
yeah.
You mentioned you're an empath,
Yeah.
and I think to an extent I am too.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm curious that this is maybe brash to say this, but that's why I didn't go into physical therapy, nursing, or being a doctor or anything like that.
Mhm.
But as I was kind of mulling that over in my head, I was thinking like, oh, but like especially as a PT, you help people recover and like, oh man, the joy on
Yeah.
people's faces that I'm sure you see at like as they see improvements and all
Yes.
that. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I like Iron Core so much is because they measure
Yeah.
those increments. So any go
Yeah. So, I was gonna say, I actually did a clinical at Children's Hospital,
mm,
and because again, I thought that's what I thought I wanted to do pediatrics, but I came home from that and cried every single day because those stories of kids
yeah,
are some of them are terrible,
yeah,
terrible, and it was so emotionally exhausting. So
right.
I chose not to go into that field. Like, that's why I went into an older adult population because so from the empath perspective, yes, there was a line that I was like, "I don't know that I can cross over and have my own kids
Yeah,
and have my own" and it was very emotionally draining.
yeah,
So, I
right.
do see that. However, on the flip side, I think that the healthcare world needs more empaths and people who care because those soft skills, I tell my students this all the time, 75% of getting somebody better is just caring about them. It truly is. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, sure, you have to know how to strengthen and improve their range of motion and all that good stuff, but if
Yeah.
you don't care,
Mhm.
you're not getting them better.
That's so true, and the likelihood I'm sure of them coming back,
Absolutely.
if you're just like another person on a page, another
Yeah.
name on a page, it's like,
Mhm.
well, like, uh, there's just no external motivation is pretty important,
Yeah.
I think to a lot of people, so,
On
God
that same topic, I think that's why healthcare burnout happens so much, is because there are so many people who are,
Mm,
caring and compassionate, and it's like you're putting so much into giving to your patients and making them feel better, and it's like it's exhausting. It really is.
so how do you draw that line?
Um, Honestly, I think I got the best of both worlds by teaching,
Mhm,
because now I am only in the clinic 1 day a week. I am never burnt out seeing my patients. I
mhm,
love them. I have the best time ever. I actually was in the clinic today, so Tuesdays are my clinic day, and I feel like it's fresh all the time. So, I don't know how you draw the line if you're full time, because that's your career.
mhm,
You're there. I think it's knowing when you need a break, knowing when to ask for help,
mhm.
whether that's from your boss or from a provider or something of that nature. But um, it's hard.
Yeah, I've been thinking more and more about diving deeper into the adaptive sports world,
Hmm.
and it's like, well, I do it part time now. Am I gonna hate it? And it's like, I don't think so. I think there's a strong possibility that I won't, but it's just something in the back of my mind. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know. Going back to younger you, what would younger Christy be surprised by if she saw your life today?
The fact that I talk. No, truthfully though, the fact that I can stand up and talk in front of a room, I mean, and feel confident in doing it. I was never confident in myself in that way.
Mm,
And I don't know if meek is the word, but just quiet and shy. And now I feel like I can, even though I don't love to be in the front of the room, I feel like I can go out there and confidently walk in and not worry about being judged, and be loud and be proud. So that's
yeah.
a huge difference from who I was as a kid.
And come on a podcast.
And come on a podcast. Like, I still can't believe it.
So I have a question. I'm sure there's a lot of like introverts listening to this. What it like and they're probably not. There's some that might not be as far along on the journey as you are. What advice would you give them to like maybe get out of their shell, if that's the right word or right phrasing?
Yeah. I think, honestly, exposure. And I think you need to find, again, we're going back to the same, finding what fulfills you, and pushing yourself just out of that comfort zone, because it's going to make you feel better after.
Yeah.
So I started teaching as an adjunct, which I was just in the labs. And I only was with small groups of people at a time. I never stood in front of the classroom.
Mm,
And even that was scary to me. If
mm,
a student would come up to me and ask me a question, I'd again start sweating bullets, and I'd be like, oh gosh, what do I do? Even though I'd been a PT for a long time, like I knew the answers.
yeah.
Um, but I just had this desire to want to teach. That was what I wanted, even though I knew it was gonna be hard. So, I used to, again, I put positive affirmations on my mirror, like, "You can do this. You are a teacher. You are this," the positive affirmation guru here, um, and got up each morning and just kept trying.
Yeah.
So, back to that same, when do you stop something, the grit versus, quitting. I think if it's something you really want to do, if you really want to come out of your shell, you have to just keep pushing. You will hit a point that is, you're going to get over that hump.
Yeah.
But I do think positive affirmations, honestly, as goofy as they sound, I really do think they help.
Oh yeah.
Like, reading every day, like, you can do this. Like,
Mhm.
you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of sports psychology around that
Absolutely.
that's like,
Absolutely.
and when I'm playing tennis, it's like, the worst thing to think is don't miss, don't miss, don't
Yeah,
miss, right? It's like, no, let's focus on behaviors. You've got this.
absolutely.
Let it go. The last shot that you're upset about, like all that, and
Next shot, next hit. Yep. It's always looking forward. Absolutely.
yeah. So you mentioned that you didn't talk to your grandma till what you said 12 or something like
Probably,
that.
yeah.
So I feel like there's a step that maybe we're missing between that kid to you getting as even as an adjunct professor? What if someone's just like does not like has that social anxiety that they just can't be around other people? What's that first step look like?
So honestly, I in college went and actually saw a therapist for a while.
Ah,
Not because I wasn't social at that point. I had friends, I hung out with people, it was fine, but I had a lot of mental stuff that I needed to work through.
mhm.
And I really think that part of that, even though it wasn't related to my introvertism, I don't know if that's a word,
Introversion?
introversion, um, even though it wasn't related to that, I do think that allowed me to put myself out there.
Yeah.
And just that first step of putting yourself out there kind of gets you out of that shell.
Mm,
Um, I think the other thing is, again, when I became a therapist, I never will forget. So the place I used to work at had a bunch of different rooms along the outside, right? So there was probably 14 different patient rooms and they all had curtains that closed.
mm.
And then the main gym was right in the middle. If I was with a patient, this is my first year out of PT school. I'm with a patient in a room, and if I had the curtain closed and there was a therapist standing outside the room, I would start whispering to my patient because I didn't want somebody else to hear me. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of if I was saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So again, I think I just kept pushing myself to
Mhm.
keep coming back every day. But
Yeah.
it was still hard even
Yeah.
after I graduated college and had a degree, had been working for 2 years, so it took time. It definitely wasn't an easy, like, turn a light switch and you're different. I mean, it
Yeah.
was years.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Incrementally, yeah, those are great pieces of advice for someone. The other random thought that I had while you were talking was, I got fairly fluent in Spanish,
Mhm.
and one of the reasons that I was able to is every time I heard someone speaking Spanish, like that was their native language, I would go and start speaking to them. And I hear so many people are like, I don't like to speak Spanish because I'm afraid to mess up.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I know I'm gonna mess up. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that mindset for me of like, yep, my Spanish isn't great, but I'm not gonna get better unless I keep having these conversations. So, um, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's definitely the difference. Like, your mindset is, "I'm only gonna get better if I keep doing it," and I, originally was, "I'm gonna mess up, I feel stupid, I don't want to do this,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I had to flip that switch in my brain to say, "I'm only gonna get better if I keep doing this."
Yeah. Now, there are times like I was telling you, like when but before I was speaking to your students, like there are nerves that I
Mhm.
get, especially in those types of situations, because you do want to do well, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and you don't want to say something really stupid that everybody remembers,
Mhm.
or at least you think everybody remembers, but only you remember because nobody else cares, right? Like,
Yep.
but yeah, I think in those settings, talking in front of groups of people, I think like you, I'm a lot better on like those one-on-one or smaller group. I've always had like a pretty small social circle
Mhm.
because if it gets bigger, it's just like I can't get as deep with somebody.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons why I like these longer these longer podcasts is because I can get deep with
Mhm.
somebody and like I don't want to shorten it despite people telling me that maybe I'll do better with the podcast and grow it faster or whatever else. It's like, yeah, but there's other ways that
Mhm.
I can do it and all that. So, um, okay, let's move on to physical therapy. One of those questions we've already asked. Um, what did patients teach you that school could not?
Oh my gosh, so much. Honestly, I tell my students this all the time. You don't learn in school. You learn the book work,
Mm,
but when you get out in the real world, when you go on your clinicals, you are going to learn so much from patients. You're going to learn how to have better eye contact. You're going to learn how to speak louder.
mhm,
You're going to learn how to change your communication style based on who you're talking to. You'll learn how to actually look like you're not standoffish, like, you can't sit with your arms crossed all the
Yeah.
time, like having an open posture. And in school, you don't learn those things. I mean, we talk about them, but you don't learn that, right? Like,
Right.
it's more of the book work that you're learning. The other thing that patients have taught me, though, is what it really means to listen.
Mm,
Um, because again, there are so many little things that people say that can clue you in on what's going on. That whether it be from an orthopedic standpoint and it's one word and you're like, "Ooh, that means this."
mm,
Or if it's again, there's so much mental power on healing of the body and you can just pick up on little nuances. Um, it my patients have also taught me, how good it feels to have people remember you. So again, I work once a week, and sometimes I don't see the same patients for a month, right? Because they're on different people's schedules when I'm not there. But
yeah.
the fact that I can remember that they had a daughter who is 12 or, a cat who is whatever,
Yeah.
I think, again, it goes a long way. I feel like patients just do better when they know you care and listen to them. So again, I feel like you learn that from being around patients.
Yeah.
Your patients aren't gonna get better as quickly, in my opinion, or want to come back or have the buy-in if you don't have those listening skills and you know, learning to understand your patients. Um,
You know what's fascinating is I've been recently doing physical therapy. I told you about my head issues, right?
yes, yeah,
I've been recently doing physical therapy with that, and one of the things that my physical therapist did with me is like I'd get on, um, is he would ask me about my shirt like instantly,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
because I always wear like a funny T-shirt, and like I remembered that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's interesting those little things that you don't think that are gonna have an impact.
mhm,
They actually do, and
yeah,
it's like, oh, like you remember that I like to wear funny T-shirts. Thanks for
exactly.
acknowledging, even if you don't find it funny or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, let's see what you got today on the T-shirt.
yeah.
So
I just and maybe this is my opinion, but, if I had to have a surgeon, I'd want somebody who has the best knowledge and hands and skills. I don't care about their bedside manner.
yeah,
Just give me somebody that can cut me open and do it well. But if I'm gonna have somebody work with me for months on end, I want somebody with good bedside manner. I want somebody who can have a conversation, who can joke with me, who can laugh with me. I
mhm,
don't need a robot standing there saying, "Do 12 marches. All right, do this." Like,
yeah,
yeah, so I think, again, being around patients taught me also how to come out of my shell.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't exactly remember what this was, but again, I've been seeing a lot of doctors, and I saw a
mhm.
repeat doctor, and he said something that was complete BS, about me, and it's like, bruh, like, if you don't know, and that's fine, but, like, don't try to BS me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I lost credibility with that doctor
Mhm.
because, like, he just made it up, and he has no like, maybe he misremembered it or whatever, but at the same time, it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So, I have horrible memory, and I have so much trouble even remembering people's names.
Mm.
Um, and so it's like, what do you do? I guess it's probably a different action in the patient the patient work and then the personal work. But what advice would you give someone that has trouble remembering to make sure that they do?
Yeah, and that they show that they care. I think the biggest thing is just active listening. You know, I don't always remember people's names. I mean, look at somebody like, "I treated you for your shoulder." Like,
Uh,
that is true. I don't
yeah.
remember names, but I do remember what was going on in their life, and I think that is just because I actively listen. I engage in a conversation.
Mm,
So, I take that time to when they tell me a story, I respond.
mm,
I don't just nod and say, "Yeah," and move on to the next thing. So,
yeah.
I think as students and as, I guess new providers, whatever you want to call it, we're constantly thinking about the next thing. Like
Mhm.
our brains are always thinking about what we should say next, what we should do next, what exercise they're going to do next. But I think it's best to just take that step back and just listen first.
Mm.
Again, actively listen. I mean, that's to me my opinion. Now, unfortunately, some bosses are going to say that you have to get XYZ done in what amount of time, but I don't know. Yeah.
What if a patient is telling you something and y it doesn't make medically it doesn't make sense? Like, how do you show your listening skills at that point?
That is really hard, and that does happen, and you're like, "Not so sure about that." I think the biggest thing is trying to keep a straight face and say unbiased, right? Like, again, I know this I watched you get in from I mean, this is I've seen it. People walk in from the parking lot, and they're bending and twisting, and then they come into me, and they, like, can't move at all, and I'm like,
Oh,
so I don't know if that's where you're going with that, but I'm like,
yeah,
"You're making this up, like,
yeah,
this isn't true." I think I try not to ever discredit anybody
okay,
because people know their bodies better than I do,
yeah,
right? But I also can validate what I'm seeing with tests and measures.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I feel like you just got to give them the facts. Like,
mm,
I did this, this proves this.
mhm,
Yeah. But
interesting,
yeah.
okay. Tell me about a patient you still think about.
Oh my gosh, I just talked about him today. I talk about him all the time. Um, I had this guy, I was 8 months pregnant at the time. Okay. So big and pregnant. He was in his early 50s. He had a motorcycle was in a motorcycle accident,
Mm.
and mind you, at the time, my husband had a motorcycle, so
Oh,
he sold that pretty quickly after this patient. Um, so he came in outpatient, so he had been at I don't remember what rehab center he was in, but he was at UC and then a rehab center for months.
mhm,
He had an amputated leg, his other ankle was completely shattered, so they had to rebuild it, dislocated shoulder, and was trached.
whoa,
So he was in the hospital for a long, long time. So he came to me, and it took 3 of us to stand him in the parallel bars the first day,
whoa,
3 therapists to stand him up. So there's a couple reasons I think about him. Number 1 is because of insurance, which I don't wanna get into, but insurance, I wrote my evaluation for him. They gave me 4 visits. 4 for a
whoa,
50-year-old man who took 3 people to stand up.
yeah,
Yeah. So every 4 visits, I had to write another, and they would give me 4 more and 4 more, and it was whatever. But the real reason I think about him is because by the end of his time, when insurance stopped giving I could cry thinking about it. When insurance stopped giving him therapy, he was able to walk on his walker into the bathroom by himself at home and get on and off the toilet by himself, which
yeah,
he still had way more therapy he should have gotten, but that's an insurance problem. But he was crying telling me about that because for 6, 7 months, his wife had had to go in there and do that for him.
yeah,
And he was like, "You don't know how much this changed my life, being able to just be independent in the bathroom by myself."
yeah,
And he was I thoroughly enjoyed working with him. I mean, it was amazing. So, yeah, he is probably one of my absolute favorites.
mm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome just being in the adaptive sports space because there's stories like that
Oh,
all the
yes.
time as well.
Mhm.
Which we'll get into CP soccer in a little bit. So next is you earn your orthopedic clinical specialist certification.
Yeah.
I said that right,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
In 2014, what pushed you to go deeper?
So, I have always been kind of a nerd. I loved school. So when I graduated from the Mounts, it was a master's degree, the PT program. And the year after me, they switched to a doctorate program.
Mm,
And I was like, well, I have to keep going. So I actually started working full time and then my husband and I both did um, the online DPT program through Shenandoah University. So we got that because I was like, I want to be the best in what I'm doing, right? And that's the highest credential we can get. So in 2014, let me back up a little bit. I was very, very, very lucky when I first graduated to be able to work in both outpatient and inpatient settings. I loved every clinical I went on. I loved some aspects of it. and I didn't want to give anything up. So Mercy Fairfield, when I interviewed there, they offered me a split day. So because I kind of said I like them both. They had options for both. I was doing mornings in the hospital and afternoons in outpatient.
Mm,
So that was fabulous, like best thing ever. Um, so I started doing more outpatient as the years went on, and I wanted, again, to just kind of better my knowledge. However, the other reason I had to do it is because I wanted to eventually teach.
mm,
So when you teach, you have to have something higher than the people you're teaching.
mm,
So my students get their doctorates in PT. So I either had to have a like PhD or education degree, or my OCS, or there's other ones, like there's a geriatric certification and all that neuro. So,
right, right.
and ortho just made the most sense because that's what I did the most of.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Um, One of the other things I think about, especially in the adaptive sports space, but I want to know from your PT perspective, is where's the line between compassion and enabling?
That's a great question. I love it so much. Um, I that's a fine line, and I have grown up around, I shouldn't say grown up, that sounds silly, but I have seen plenty of enablers in my life,
Yeah.
and I think from the outside looking in, it's really easy to spot somebody who's enabling somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
but when you are that person, you don't know that that's what you're doing.
Mm,
Um, and so I feel like it almost takes someone else to
mhm.
show you what you are doing and how you're enabling them. But even in that regard, I don't think it ever really clicks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do. That is a fabulous question, because that line, I mean, you see it a lot in I can think like some of my patients who have had strokes, like their families think that they're just caring about them, but really they're doing everything for them.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not going to help them.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if it's from an education perspective that you just have to kind of keep pushing and saying, like, here's why you have to stop doing this, let them do this. But man, that's a hard question,
Yeah.
especially when it's a loved one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of compassion out there. Like we don't want to we don't want to see people struggle,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the compassionate side. But in order for someone to get to where they need to be,
Mhm.
they have to struggle.
Yeah.
Like struggle is a must.
Mhm.
And so it's like my mom has a quote. Did I say this
I don't
at
think so.
the
Oh, you did, and
at
I
your
loved it.
class? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's it's if you break a bone, it'll heal. If you break their spirit, it'll paralyze them for a
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yep.
And it's the other thing Jake Counts said something like um it's when it comes to like us like packing up in the car together, it's like it's almost like you don't want to help them until they've done it 100 times and are completely fine doing it. So it's like if we're loading each other's wheelchair in the car to help speed things along, like that's fine, right? But if you have someone that's still learning how to do that,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, at that point, let's not help them. Let's guide them through
Yes.
how to do it themselves.
Yes.
So,
I completely agree. And I mean, I get it. There are times where time is of the essence and
mhm,
you gotta help. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. But I mean, an example, when I have somebody, when I worked in the hospital and, you'd get somebody up to go to therapy, and you want them to tie their shoes or put their shoes and socks on. But like that's technically OT kind of works on that, and PT, that's not, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not our realm, but like that's their thing. And so there are many times where I'm like, we have other things we need to do, and I put them on for them. But there are times where I'm like, okay, I have the time.
yeah,
Let's watch you try this, right? Because you've got to let them try.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's a great question.
yeah. What do you think students think they understand until real patients, let's say, humble them?
I think one of the biggest things that they think they understand is that they know everything because they've taken the test on it.
Mm,
Um, and I mean, we can say this, and I'm not saying any student thinks that they know everything. That is not what I mean, but that's all there is to learn,
yeah.
right? And then you learn things from a book,
Uh-huh.
and your patient with back pain should present like XYZ. Well, then that patient comes in with back pain and they look like ABC.
Yeah.
And so it humbles you real quick when you're like, I thought I knew this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, because
Yeah.
everybody's got a different, you know, something different going on. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
What worries you about future healthcare professionals?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing now, and again, I feel like I need to apologize to any students listening to this, but I feel like the world of social media and
Mm,
COVID and cell phones, not that I mean, I grew up with cell phones too, but I feel like people don't know how to just talk to people anymore.
yeah.
Um, and I feel like it could change things. I just feel like that person to person connection just it's not as ingrained in people anymore
Mm,
and students now. And not that they're not good people. I just feel like they're more self-absorbed than they used to be.
yeah.
And again, I apologize if any students are listening to this, but it is true. I mean, it's I've been teaching in some capacity since 2014. I mean, and I've seen a big change in students, and I really have, and they are very entitled and self-absorbed. I guess that's kind of the best way, and I really think part of it is just the social media, the cell phone usage, the texting,
Yeah.
like, they just don't know how to look out at the world around them anymore, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what scares me.
Anytime there's silence, it's like, "Oh, let me check my phone." And
Exactly,
it's like,
exactly.
"No, let's just live in this
Let's
for a
just
second."
hang. Yeah, yeah.
I had a friend back in the day tell me, like, we were all, like, hanging out in a room, and we were all quiet, and I don't know if we were all on our phones or something like that, but somebody said something like, "You know we're close when we can just sit together
Mhm,
in silence
mhm.
and not have to, like, break it or
Yeah,
anything like that." So,
yeah.
by the way, you hit kind of a nerve. Something that I've been thinking a lot about with is not using technology. So, like, I can have a conversation just fine with people,
Mhm.
and I have this podcast structure. Like, I have it on my phone and it's like it's canned questions, so to
Yeah.
speak, that is like and the more I've done these, the more I like so I care a lot about authenticity.
Mhm.
And I feel like, asking too many questions from my phone, let's say, that are canned, almost takes away from that authenticity, right?
Mhm.
Because if you see, like, some of the big podcasters like Rogan doesn't have any agenda.
Yeah.
Like, he just talks with people, and maybe he does. I don't know what he does to keep it in his head, but he certainly doesn't have notes or
Yes.
anything.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting. I've been trying to, like, maybe do, like, topic specific stuff
Mhm.
instead of question specific stuff,
Mhm.
but sometimes ChatGPT helps me ask really good questions.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's like that crutch of, like, am I using this as a crutch and this is stopping me from growing? Or and I think the answer is yes. I could cut back, and I am slowly but surely, but it's also like, yeah, but some of these questions are great. So I
Absolutely.
think it's just that balance
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, I think the difference is you have that, but you are again, go back to the active listening. You're listening to what I'm saying and you're responding to what I'm saying
Yeah.
and going off of that. If
Yeah.
I answered a question and you were like, "Okay," and went straight back to your phone for another question, like that's
Yeah.
not authentic.
Y
Like
yeah.
we're having a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, and in sales, I actually learned how to have conversations because they have this tactic called QAS, question answer support.
Okay.
And so, like, if you're asking a customer a question about, like, what their needs are for the products that are in front of them, like, you don't want to just ask the question, have them answer and then ask the next question.
Yeah.
You want to like back it up with something, right?
Mhm.
And so like I think that was ingrained in me early on. Like in order to really show listening,
Yeah.
you have to you have to respond, right? And
Mhm.
the other thing that I've been balancing is trying to keep the flow going
Yeah.
and also like and listening at the same time. It's like, okay, what's my next topic? But also, like, I really want to stay engaged. One of my friends who I had on the podcast, David, he said one of the he was opening up about like ADHD or something like that, and I think at that moment I was planning the next question, and I said he said something like ADHD sucks, let's say, and I said, well, that's cool, and I'm like, oh, so I think I've come to the conclusion of that it's better to have a moment of silence on the
Yes.
podcast
Mhm.
and like not miss those things. Um, but yeah, it's interesting the multitask,
Yes.
of that.
So same thing in the healthcare world, and we do practice subjective interviews for our students. They practice with us,
Mm,
and you can tell the ones that are already thinking of the next question. So the one case was a car accident. I was the patient. I was in a car accident. And the person was asking me like, so what happened? And I was like, well, I was in a car accident driving to work the other day. And they were like, oh, that's great. And I was like, that. And then they asked me the next question. And I was
that's
like,
great.
that is not how you talk about that. Like,
You don't say, "Oh, that's great."
"Wait, okay, so what happened?" Like, no, that's not great.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, no. But anyway, it's just something that I'm like, "Yep, I do that sometimes." Anyway, um, what do you want future PTs to understand about disabled athletes?
I think, honestly, the biggest thing I want them to understand is that there is a whole entire world out there for them.
Mm,
I mean, I just think prior to me joining up with the bridge and doing CP soccer, I had no clue. I had no clue there was anything. I
mhm,
mean, I knew from you about like when I was there from the tennis foundation, so I knew tennis, but
right.
I had no clue all this was out there, and it is literally, like, in my backyard.
Mhm,
So, I think the biggest thing that I want them to know is that there are disabled athletes,
mm,
right? That is an option. Um, I think I told you this when you came to my class. I could have taken that class a million different ways. I could have taken it as how do you treat an adaptive athlete? But really, you treat them just like any other injury.
mm,
If you hurt your shoulder, I treat you the same way as an able-bodied human that I treat their shoulder,
yeah,
right? Like, it's the same. A shoulder is a shoulder. And as far as knowing the demands of a sport, I don't know how to play every sport. So if I had a football player, I'd have to ask them what they need to do to
mhm,
be able to treat them well. So it's not like they needed to understand the adaptive sport necessarily from a treatment perspective. Um, but I just think I want the world to know what is out there
mm,
because there are so many people who, whether it was being born disabled or an unfortunate accident happening later in life, that I feel like could have such wonderful quality of life if they knew what was out there.
yes,
And
absolutely,
that's what I want future like, my students to know. And that's why I got so big into being, like, a liaison for
yeah,
the adaptive sports world at the Mount because I was like, I want them to know this is available, and I want those who aren't from Cincinnati to go out and start something somewhere else if it's not available.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's one thing that I'm very big on, like, if someone's a new injury, like, the best piece of advice I have for them is get involved with adaptive sports.
yeah.
Like, that's such a critical thing,
Mhm.
and it's interesting too because, Micaiah, I think, is an outlier, because she got into to adapt I mean, she was friends with like, her family was friends with Dan or maybe Danny
Yeah.
or somebody like that. I don't remember, but, like, early on, she got involved in adaptive sports and, like so, like, I've had Jake and Mozzie on my podcast. They were both injured fairly young,
Yeah.
and they didn't find adaptive sports until years later.
Yeah.
I got involved with it at 12, and it's like, where like it's just it's mind-boggling to think about how long it takes people to get into
Yeah.
adaptive sports. I'm curious what you think about this. I also think there's a stigma around it where if you get injured, you think, "Oh, that's beneath me. I'm not gonna do that."
I think that is fear coming out in them.
Oh,
I honestly do. I think it's a fear of not being able to, or
oh.
not being, you know, not being as good as you once were, especially if it's a later in life kind of thing. I really do.
Mhm,
Which I understand. I can't say that I don't get that. I mean,
mhm.
again, it makes sense, but I do think a lot of people are afraid of what that's gonna look like. I also think, again, that there is a lack of understanding of what adaptive sports are.
Yeah,
Like, it's not just they're not all just fun and games. There are legit athletes and a legit sporting events that happen, you
yeah,
know? So I think, to your point, when somebody says that's beneath me, I think they're not understanding the full breadth of what the adaptive sports world can be.
yeah.
Again, I did not know. I grew up playing soccer. I did not know that there were other extended national teams.
Mm,
I didn't know there was deaf soccer. I didn't know there was CP, like para soccer. No clue.
yeah.
And I grew up watching US play soccer.
Mhm.
So it's a lack of understanding is the biggest thing, but I feel like that too from a patient or an athlete perspective, they don't know what the future could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so true. I think there's just, an able-bodied stigma of like, "Oh, wheelchair sports are less than," let's say, and it's like, no, like, it's interesting watching, like, pros, like tennis pros
Yeah.
get into a wheelchair and try wheelchair tennis. It's
Yeah.
like they don't know what to do with the wheels and all that. It's like a completely different skill,
Yeah.
but, um
My first thing when somebody thinks it's not as exciting or as intense, I'm like, "Watch Murder Ball." Like,
Mm,
with the wheelchair rugby, that is insane.
yeah,
Like, you wanna tell me it's not intense? Like, it can be that's more intense than a football game.
yeah.
Like, they're crazy out there.
Yeah, you know what else is intense?
Oh, no.
Camping. Sorry.
No, but do you wanna hear something about camping?
What? Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
leaving on a like a backpacking hiking trip and sleeping in the wilderness in tents for 6 straight days
No
in
way.
2 weeks.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's exciting.
intense.
Wait, yeah,
It's
intense.
intense.
That is intense. You know what's funny is in my personal life, anytime someone says intense, I will say, "You know what else is intense?" And if someone knows that the answer is camping, I'll say, "No, it's circus fires." And I think this is the first time I've ever done that on the podcast.
That's
I could be wrong. I could
awesome.
be
I
remembering, but
love
I'm
it.
like, "All right."
That works great.
Yeah, okay, what's the best piece of advice? You kind of answered this. What's the best piece of advice you'd give all your students?
Um, keep every door open, and the PT world is small.
Mm,
You don't wanna burn bridges.
yeah.
You will come across either old patients, old therapists, old classmates, old professors, all over the place. You can be halfway across the country and run into somebody you knew. So, don't burn bridges. That's honestly one of my biggest things is, and keeping your options open.
Mm,
Don't silo yourself. When I was growing up, after, the whole deciding to be a pediatrician and all that good stuff, I was like, "Oh, I loved UC basketball," and I was like, "I would love to be the UC basketball PT." I
mm,
was dead set on ortho sports, and yeah, and now I'm, like, completely different from that, so
mm.
keeping those options open is huge too, but
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of goes to the saying of like, if one door closes, another one, a
yeah,
window will open. What's that saying? I don't even know. Do you remember?
something like yeah, if one door I think it's just if one door closes, another opens,
Oh yeah, yeah. I think there's like a
or
twist on it
there's a
where
window
like,
that's oh, something like
yeah,
that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Okay, it is time for the wheelie bad joke segment. Before we get into that though, I always ask at certain intervals of the podcast, how long do you think we've been going?
Uh, like 45 minutes, maybe?
An hour and 20.
No way!
Yeah.
For real? Dang, that's crazy.
And I think I told you something along those lines in the podcast is like, it just flies by.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy. I would have never guessed that.
yeah,
That's crazy.
time is, like, so different
It's
like, when
yeah,
we're
it's like
podcasting.
time warped
It's
in here.
yeah, right? It's like yeah. But, yeah, an hour and 20 minutes, it does not feel like,
No.
it's been that long.
Mm-mm.
It's been very, very quick. Okay,
Yeah.
so wheelie bad jokes.
All right.
Here's how it works,
Okay.
is I'm gonna tell you a wheelie bad joke. I'm gonna do it from these books. His name's Logan Lyle on Instagram, and I'm sure across all socials. He's awesome. He tells the best dad jokes, let's say. And so and then I want you to read one, or
Okay.
if you have one, you can tell it. But here's the kicker with that is you're gonna open up to a random page, look at the joke, and then without reading it, recite it back. Most of them are short,
Okay.
so it's not like a paragraph long. So and if you mess up, that's fine too.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world. It's just fun. So here's your book.
Okay.
I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
Don't look at your
All
joke
right.
yet, but um okay. Okay. My doctor told me that I'm at risk for oh shoot, hold on. Okay. My doctor told me I'm at risk for heart disease because I eat too much sodium. I took it with a grain of salt.
These are terrible.
I know.
That's great. All right.
How would you rate that joke?
I'll
What
give it
scale
like a
1 to 10?
7.
Okay,
I'll give
okay.
it like a 7.
All
All
right.
right. Open it up and read it.
Mhm.
All right. My friend asked me to pick up a 6-pack of Sprite. When I got to his house, I realized I picked up 7 Up.
That's a good one. Okay, cool. Well, that was just
That's too funny.
little fun segue. I've heard that one before. I think I would rate that maybe a 5. Like
Yeah, that wasn't that
that's
good.
mid.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's get into to sports a little bit. Um, what does sports give someone that therapy alone can't?
Gosh, I mean, and this is just from growing up playing and coaching and all that, it just gives you a sense of responsibility.
Mm,
Um, it gives you a understanding of teamwork.
yeah.
I think having somebody coach you gives you a better understanding of how to listen to somebody and how to follow directions. I mean, as kids, kind of that's a huge thing. I
Mhm.
think you get more accountability
Yeah.
because your teammates are relying on you. Now, some sports are single, but even then, your coach, you're trying to be accountable to your coach or whatever it is. There's definitely a whole lot on that front that sports gives you that therapy doesn't.
Mhm.
I think therapy is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Obviously, it's my favorite. It's my career.
Mhm.
Um, and you can get somebody so much better physically. But I think there are so many other life lessons that can be learned through sports
Yeah.
that you don't really get. I mean, yeah, sure, my patient is accountable to me, and I ask them every day, "Did you do your exercises at home?"
Mhm.
And I do know that some patients don't wanna disappoint me, and they do that, and they do their exercises at home, and others don't wanna disappoint me, so they lie and say they did them at home.
Yeah.
But I do think it's just a whole different ballgame when you're around peers that are the same age as you or the same, with the same purpose as you. Responsibility, accountability, understanding teamwork,
Yeah.
um, following directions. Yeah.
Yeah. One within the disabled space specifically, that I think you'll probably agree with is you see other disabled athletes who are like you
Mhm,
that are doing more than you, and you think, "Oh, I can actually do that too."
mhm,
And so it's like, and then there's the whole accountability piece. Like, there's different bathroom needs that disabled people have that it's like another disabled person calling you out on that is a lot a lot different than an able-bodied person who
Yeah.
doesn't experience that, you know? So any thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
no, I think that's totally true. I I think there's a sense of pride too that you learn from playing sports, and like
Oh,
you said, it's being able to you see somebody else doing something and you're like, "I can do that," and then being able to do it.
mhm.
Again, you are making your team proud, your coach proud, your therapist proud, but I do think that's like you hit on that when you said seeing somebody doing more than you, it gives you that oomph, that desire, that drive
Mhm.
to do better and be better, where sometimes you can't get that in the therapy world. There's not like that next level that they're seeing.
Yeah.
So,
Did I tell you the escalator story
mm-mm,
in front of your
I don't think
students?
so.
So I had that on my list, and I was looking back at it after. I'm like, oh, that would have been
Yeah.
a great one to tell. One of the things that adaptive sports gave me was when I started road racing. I actually at 10. I think I said I started sports at 12, which that's when I started tennis. But 10 was when I started wheelchair racing,
Mhm.
track and road racing. And one of my first away competitions, there was a hotel with escalators. And I go into the hotel and there's older kids in wheelchairs going up and down escalators in their wheelchair. And 10-year-old me looks at my mom and I'm like, "Mom, look at that. That's so cool. I want to try that." And we've tried to discuss this like now, and I'm not quite sure what my mom's reaction was, but I don't think it was fear. I
Yeah.
think it was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And I don't know if she was, like, behind me, like, making sure I didn't fall or whatever else, but, like, I went and I rode the escalator up and down, and by the way, you have to face up, and the way to do it is and I'm not encouraging this. Viewers, don't come after me if you fall. It's on you. But the way to do it is you have to face up, right?
Okay.
If you're
Either
going
way,
up
up
or
or
down,
down,
you
you
have to
face up.
face up. And so what you do is you align your first wheel on one step, or your front wheels on one step, and then your back wheels on
Okay.
another. So you're kind of like
In a wheelie.
lifted, and you can hold on to the rails as you're going up and down. So I learned that early on, and like I would have not ever been exposed to something like
Yeah.
that had it not been for wheelchair sports. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's more practical things that I learned along the way, but that was one that like really stuck out. That I was like, I learned how to do escalators because of this.
That's super cool. You know why your mom let you do that? Because of her quote. Because if you
Yeah,
break your bone, it's not gonna it'll heal.
yeah,
But she didn't wanna break your spirit there. That's exactly why she let you do that.
right.
She had no fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, she's standing behind you, hoping you don't sneeze and let go of the bars, flip
Yeah, right,
backwards.
right. But yeah, I just I think that's just a really interesting story for like how adaptive sports changes people, and
Absolutely.
like, you know, I'm not gonna think, oh, look at that able-bodied person going up and down escalators. Let me try
Right,
that.
try it. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like I'm seeing other people in wheelchairs. So,
absolutely.
um, do you see or have you seen confidence change faster through sport than traditional rehab?
Oh my gosh, yes, and I have the best story ever. So, we have one boy, his name's Brady. He plays soccer. He was one of our founding players, right? So, he started in 2022 when we did. He was one of the first kids in there. He would not speak at all,
Mm,
and I mean, mind you, he does therapy all the time. I mean, kids with CP do therapy year round, right?
yeah.
Um, and after the first year, he got a little more vocal, kept getting a little more vocal. Can I tell you, we had Top Soccer put on a huge event, and Midwest we did a Midwest showcase here. He sang the national anthem by himself at our Midwest showcase, and he
No.
sang it with Nick Hagland and another person at Top Soccer
Oh,
in front of hundreds of people. I mean, his mom, she'll cry telling the story because it has changed his life, the confidence he has had, and it's because he's surrounded, like you said, by people that get him and
yeah.
people that are like him and people that aren't judging him, but, like, unreal. I
Yeah.
mean, stood up in front of I think there were probably over 175 people at our showcase and sang it with me with my little itty bitty cell phone playing the stars because we didn't have speakers, right? So it's in the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool. But
Oh,
yes, I do think it changes more.
yeah.
I also think sports can beat down your confidence really easily too, though. But
Sure.
I definitely think more than traditional therapy or just traditional living,
Do
sports can do that.
do you think more than physical therapy it would?
Oh, I do.
You do?
I
Okay,
do. I
interesting.
absolutely do.
I don't know that I have the experience to say one way or another, but I
Yeah.
I would have guessed, I think,
Yeah.
sports
Yeah.
for sure, because it is a form of physical therapy in a way, like,
Absolutely.
your strength building and all
Absolutely.
that, so,
Yeah.
um, go ahead.
Now, I think physical therapy helps you to get better at sports and build that confidence,
Sure.
right? So there is a role that therapy is going to play. So, I mean, all of our players still go to therapy on a regular basis and now they work on soccer specific stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
so that does help them gain that confidence, but
Mhm.
I think the actual sport itself is what is yeah.
Yeah. So, we've been talking a lot about CP soccer,
Mhm.
but we've never spelled it out, I
Yeah.
just realized.
Yeah.
So, can you spell out what CP soccer is, what CP is?
Yes, absolutely. So CP soccer is cerebral palsy soccer. It is actually um, part of there is a U.S. national team that a CP soccer team, but it is made for so it's a soccer program made for kids and adults with cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injuries, or strokes.
Mm,
So anybody who's had one of those three diagnoses. So basically, what CP does, what a TBI does, what a stroke does, is it impacts your muscle tone, whether that's from making it either more spastic, meaning kind of tight, or loosey goosey, like hypotonic. Um, it's a lot of motor function that it affects. So TBIs and strokes can affect sometimes some cognitive stuff. CP itself doesn't usually have cognitive things, but there are other diagnoses on top of it that can.
yeah.
So you have associated comorbidities, but so all of our players are varying levels of disability. Some have like quadriplegia, so like 2 arms, 2 legs with issues. Some are just one side, right or left. Some are just one arm, one foot. So you see a very like wide variety of people of disabilities, and I think that kind of throws people when they look at it sometimes. Because if you watch the U.S. national, like the extended national CP team, um, some of them are faster than able-bodied people. I mean, they are legit, right? They're running. You can't even tell they have anything going on, which I'll explain that in a second. But so again, very wide variety. But we started CP Soccer in 2022. So
Can I interrupt real quick?
yes, please do.
There's two questions.
Yeah.
One, is it a Paralympic sport?
Yeah. No, is it?
I don't know.
Yes. Oh, I don't know. They do like World Cups.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
but may or may not be.
I
Okay.
don't think I don't think it
I
is.
feel like you would have heard of it.
I feel like I would have too, that's what I'm saying. I knew they do like a World Cup type thing, but yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I'll
Okay.
have to look that up.
The next question is it in wheelchairs or standing?
Standing. So all of them are ambulatory.
Mhm.
Um, we do not technically, they're not supposed to be using assistive devices.
Sorry, I'm laughing right now because I just asked if CP soccer was standing or sitting. And I do want to point out to anybody who's saying, why the heck did you ask that question? Because how can somebody sitting down play soccer? There is wheelchair soccer
Yes.
where there's generally a bigger ball and they hit that ball with their wheelchair. So before anybody judges me for asking a stupid question, it's not a stupid question,
No,
okay?
not at all. Yes, there's definitely wheelchair soccer. Um, but yeah, so we in our program we allow kids with standing devices. So we have a person who uses a posterior walker. We have another who uses forearm crutches. So we let that happen. But technically, the rules for CP soccer is they have to be ambulatory without a device.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to my next question. So I mean, there's so many different varieties of cerebral palsy. There's people who are in wheelchairs, maybe some that can't talk, have trouble talking, all that. And so generally this is for people who have a less severe case of cerebral palsy. Is that right to say?
That is absolutely correct to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we usually do is when somebody fills out their registration form, we will look at like there's questions that are asked as far as if they use an assistive device, wheelchair, whatever. If they use a assistive device and are able to walk, I'll usually email the parent and say, "Hey, most of our kids are ambulatory. Some of them are really fast.
Mhm.
I'd love for your kid to come try it and see, but I want them to be safe. So if you don't think, bring them out, but if you feel like they can't keep up, then I have another solution." So Top Soccer, I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No. I mean,
Um,
I have, but
yeah,
I'm not quite familiar with
yeah.
it.
So Top Soccer, it's TOPS, like capital TOPS, soccer. It is they have wheelchair soccer, so they do have wheelchair
Yeah.
soccer, um, and then they will have, just different levels, skill levels of teams, wings, juniors, passers, whatever they're called, based on ability level.
Mm.
So they have a lot of people with using assistive devices. They have a lot of kids with autism and more behavioral issues or cognitive issues. So we always, always, always refer out to them so that there is an outlet for them or an avenue for that athlete.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. And the
yeah.
bridge does that too, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
My next question was, it slipped my mind. I do this thing where I cross my fingers so I don't
Try to remember
so
things.
it'll be
Yep.
like, okay, this thought is attached to this finger,
Yep.
but I lost it. Do that once or twice a podcast at least. So, um, okay, so CP Soccer. Oh, that's what it was. You mentioned other people other than CP playing CP Soccer.
Yeah.
How do people react when they're like, I mean, it seems like the name, if I have a stroke, is that
Mhm.
one of the,
Oh, yeah.
so if I have a stroke and I'm looking for soccer opportunities, I'm not gonna click on CP Soccer because I don't have CP.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes. So that is super hard. I think the other thing with our program is it's ages 5 to 17.
Okay.
So strokes have usually happened in utero or shortly after birth.
Okay.
And many times that stroke diagnosis gets, I'm going to say turned into, that's not what you would want to say, but it gets turned into a CP
Yeah.
diagnosis. So a lot of those patients end up with going to the CP clinic and seeing CP doctors. And so that's how that happens.
Got
Same
it.
with TBIs. So usually they're early on and it progresses to, again, I don't want to use the word turning into or changing or whatever, but it becomes a CP diagnosis. So they get involved in CP clinics and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah.
So most of those people, if I asked them what their disability is,
Yes.
they'd say
CP.
CP.
Mhm.
Would all of them
I
or
I think they all would. Yeah.
okay. Okay.
I would imagine everyone. And we definitely have, so I can think of one of our boys, he just outgrew our program. He's 17 now. But I know for a fact he had a stroke in utero
Mm.
and he had a CP diagnosis. So
How do
yeah.
you tell the difference?
From a therapy perspective, like a PT perspective, or just in
I
general?
I, I guess like
They are very, very similar.
yeah. Okay.
So you would see, again, I'm sure there's way more fancy brain neurology type stuff that they'd see on MRIs and things like that I'm not familiar with since I don't do peds PT. But the way a patient presents with a stroke, even an older adult patient, looks very similar to somebody with one-sided CP.
Mhm.
It's very similar.
Okay. Yeah. So an example I just thought of is like for like just para athletes,
Yeah.
so who are just paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I'll do to figure out their injury level is I'll have them do a balance test. So I'll
Yes.
ask them to stick out their arms and lean left or lean right,
Yeah.
and I watch how they get back up.
Yeah.
And if they need to grab onto the wheel to pick them back up,
Yeah.
that themselves back up, that means they don't have as much trunk control, so they have a higher injury,
Yeah.
right? Then I have a quad, right? And
Yeah.
he has to tape the racket to his hand because he doesn't have
Mhm.
good hands. So obviously I know from that perspective that that he has a pretty high injury.
Yeah.
So is there any tests like that that you can do with someone that has
So basically, again, they're all going to present very, very different
yeah,
because it just depends on which, like, just like you're saying, like the higher the level, it's not a spinal cord injury, obviously, but they're going to present very differently. So there are, from a therapy perspective, there's classification scores and outcome measures that you can do that really hone in on that. But from our perspective, we will just watch them as they're just playing,
yeah,
right? So we come out, we have them run the first time and we see how they're doing. So there are, I mean, if you watch our kids run, there are some who are booking it, run completely normal, and others whose legs are flying all over the place and have no control of them. So
yeah.
again, we just watch movement, and just see. And from that point, we know we usually break our kids up and put some of the more challenged players, that are struggling a little bit more with their balance in one side, and then we kind of split it up so it's an
Sure,
even playing field and nobody's getting hurt out there. But
sure. Is so what's the difference in rules between
yeah, so it's a smaller field. They
Mhm,
play 7v7. You, instead of like soccer, you can throw the ball in, like you have to throw it over your head. For CP, you can either throw it over your head or roll it.
mm,
So again, because if you think somebody doesn't have one arm that they can raise over their head,
mhm,
they can't do that appropriately, so they
sure,
can roll the ball in. Otherwise, it's soccer. There are classifications, so each team has to field, again, if you're doing this like in the legit competitive world, there's like a 1, 2, or 3 classification, and you can't have too many ones, because that's you're stacking your team. And when you're on the field, there has to be at least 1-1, 1-3, and there's rules in that regard to make it a more even playing field.
so one is more disabled or less?
Less.
It's less disabled,
Mhm.
interesting, it's the opposite of basketball.
Yes, I was going to say when Jake was talking about that, I'm like, that's the opposite. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, and so you can have so in basketball, you can't have over a certain number of points on the court at one time. Is it you can't have under a certain number of points
It
in
is. You
soccer?
have to have. So if there's, I don't know that it's a point system. I think it's a matter of you can't have more of the ones than the 3, like, you have to have
Uh,
mostly 2s, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know the exact
Okay.
numbers of them because again, we don't
Sure,
not in a competitive world,
sure,
but,
sure. Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Um, go ahead, did you have
No,
something
no,
el okay, okay.
mm-mm.
Um, any other, like, play difference in rules?
No, I mean, it's a shorter time period than
Okay,
normal soccer. I think it's 25-minute halves,
okay,
it's shorter, and
yeah,
that's just from a fatigue perspective, but no, not at all.
okay,
Otherwise, it's normal.
interesting. Um, what would surprise people if they watched a practice or game?
So ours, I think they'd be super surprised at how well our athletes can keep the ball at their feet. I mean, if you watch them, they've grown so much. I guess I'm saying that because I've seen them from when they were so little. Um, but I mean, we have some of our players who are doing pullbacks and all different kinds of moves, and that blows my mind. But if you watch a real, like the national team, it's good soccer. I
Yeah,
mean, they're quick. It's really good soccer, and I don't think people know that.
right.
Again, it's better than the World Cup we watched last night.
Yeah. I actually did
Sorry.
not watch it.
Oh,
Uh,
you didn't miss anything.
yeah.
It was bad.
It
It
was?
was
Oh,
bad. They
okay.
played terrible.
I didn't even
Mhm.
we bumped up our tennis practice because like everyone wanted to watch it
Yeah,
and did I assume US lost?
they did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was like I think it ended up being 4-1, but they
Oh,
played terrible. They
wow.
looked awful. I
Wow.
was like, "I think my high school team could have beat them." Like, it was bad. It was bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang, your high
Oh.
school team. Uh, yeah, well, anyway, okay, let me ask about, like, building it.
Yeah.
So, when did it start?
So the Bridge and UC put on an Adapt and Thrive soccer clinic in April of 2022.
Mhm,
So they had deaf soccer, CP soccer, amputee soccer, and I think we had blind and visually impaired soccer there as well. So I actually took a group of my students and we volunteered.
mhm,
And this was before CP was even a thing in, in our minds. And luckily my students and I, all of us got paired up in the CP group, which we were just volunteering. We were just, hanging out one on one with the players. And after that, I reached out. Danny had reached out and said that they were going to try to start it because we had enough
mhm,
people that came to the clinic.
yeah,
And I said, let's go, whatever. So I showed up. I was just at that point, Mimi and Danny were kind of running the show. But I came to every practice, and so did Brenna, who is my co-chair now. So we worked together. But she was actually a student of mine too. We went to every single practice. So we finished the spring season. And then come fall, Danny was like, you guys want to do this again? And so we kind of took the reins as the head coaches and
yeah,
organizing the volunteers and things like that. And so, yeah, it's just progressed from there. We started out with 7 players at our first session.
cool.
And I actually looked before I came in here, we've had over 60 players that have come through the program.
Wow,
Not all of them have come back after a season, but we've had
yeah,
over 60. And nowadays, if you come to a practice, there's anywhere between 15 and 25 players at a practice. So
wow,
we've definitely grown a lot.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, but we do,
So Mimi,
yeah, yeah,
I've been trying since probably the start of the podcast to get her
yeah,
on.
yeah,
I think she'd be a great guest,
yeah,
to talk about all of her experiences
yeah.
with, like, the Paralympics and quad rugby and all that, so if you talk to her,
Um,
name drop that.
I absolutely will, and I will say she's hard to get a hold of.
She is,
Very
yeah.
much so.
Like, she's responsive, to an extent, but she's has a family now,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
kids and,
I actually asked her to come to do one of my elective classes, and
mhm.
she emailed me back, like, 2 weeks after it was over. I was like, "I'd love to do it." And I was like, "Girl, it's done. Thank you, though, next year. Let's get you on the calendar for next year."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, right.
yeah, sweet Mimi. I will tell her, though,
Yeah, anyway, Mimi, if you're
if
listening
you're
to
listening.
this, come on the podcast. No, okay, so, I'm sorry, can you remind me the year that it started
Yeah,
again?
2022.
2022. So it's been around for about 4 years already, and you've grown fairly massively. So what role did the bridge play?
So, super helpful, again, CP Soccer could be a standalone thing. So there is a CP Soccer, if you go to the CP Soccer, US CP Soccer website, there are CP soccer teams across the country that are just like ours. We pride ourselves on being the fastest growing one. And I honestly, they count kid hours. So CP Soccer actually gives us
Get
money.
hours.
I was just going to explain that.
Oh, okay.
So for every kid that's at practice, they give you $5 an hour. So at the end of the year, USCP Soccer gives the teams that much money.
Oh, awesome.
And we've won every year without fail as far as having the most kid hours. No, last year we were down by point 0.5 kid
Oh.
hours. But that's super nice. So we get funding from them, which is great. But what the bridge has done for us is incredible. They number one, their marketing is amazing.
Mhm.
So I am not a social media guru. I'm not a Canvas, graphic creator or whatever. And neither is Brenna. So having somebody to put stuff out there. Plus they already have a good following. So, we got our names out there pretty easily because of their following.
Mhm.
They do fund things that we need. They also have great connections. So we use a field in Newtown that the Moats group put down the turf. And since they're besties and have a great relationship with them, they let us use that field for free, which is
That's awesome.
wonderful because we've tried to use other fields and they're really expensive.
Yeah.
So it's nice we have that for free. We use them anytime we need, like, they'll help us with parties and food, and our team actually has jerseys, so we bought a bunch of jerseys that we hand out each season, and then they return them back and get a new one the next season.
Nice.
So they helped with that, but the biggest thing is just the exposure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched them grow over the
Yeah.
years, and like it's so fantastic
Yeah.
how well they're growing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's such a needed thing, and I wish every city had
I
had
know.
the bridge,
I know. I know.
but anyway, what was for you, what was the first practice like?
I think for me, it was it was hard to figure out how to incorporate everybody.
Mm.
Even though there were only 7 of them, they were all at different ages.
Can I ask
Yeah,
real quick? You mentioned it's for people who are more physically able
yeah,
with cerebral palsy.
yeah.
Did you have to turn a lot of people away during that practice, or was it very clear?
No, that was all who showed up.
Oh,
Yeah, and honestly, the one kid came with forearm crutches, like, he's been
okay,
there since the beginning. So we try really hard not to turn people away.
sure,
Um, even we've had some of our athletes that have pretty severe autism too, and we've always been able to, like, we have enough volunteers. We've had been able to put somebody one-on-one with that person or
great,
that kid.
great,
So we try really, really hard not to turn anybody away.
sure,
But we do that screening process at the beginning when they sign up. We try to, like, because I don't want somebody to come and us be like, "Sorry, you can't be here."
yeah, yeah,
That's not okay.
right,
So,
right,
we try to catch it beforehand. But yeah, I think that's, and it's still the hardest thing about practice is we just have such a wide variety of ages and skill levels. I
Mhm.
mean, we just sent 2 of our players, I said, to New Jersey for a US global camp with some of the US national team players.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, like, they're really good. They're great athletes. And then we have 5-year-olds,
Yeah,
so it's just different. That's the hardest part.
yeah,
Like, I've coached teams before, but they're all the same age and the same skill level, or mostly, so
yeah. So you were before I interrupted, you were
Mhm.
going into the first practice.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
there anything else that?
No, I think that was probably the hardest part, but also I think parents, I love all of our parents, but you hit on this too, I believe. The enabling piece,
Yeah,
right? Like, let them come to us.
yeah,
Let's let them try. Let's let them fall and get
mhm,
back up.
yeah,
And I think that's a hard thing, but that's more hard for the parents than it was for me.
yeah,
Um, but that was hard to
yeah,
be like, "It's okay, we got this. Like,
yeah,
go sit down and enjoy yourself." Now our parents tailgate in the parking lot, I feel like they have a
yeah,
blast now, but that
y
did take a while to gain that trust.
yeah. And speaking of just like parents, and I think society as a whole is there's often speech issues that come with cerebral palsy,
Mhm.
and so a lot of people translate those speech problems as mental
Yeah.
disabilities,
Yeah.
and they're not. They're
Mm-mm.
just as smart as everybody else. They
Mhm.
just have a motor function issue,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
um, okay, at what point did you think this could become something real?
Honestly, I feel like last year was the first year that we were like, "Oh gosh, this is gonna be cool,"
Mm,
because we finally got enough kids there to split up and actually work on skills with some of the older and or more skilled players, like legit soccer skills.
yeah,
And then the other group, we split up and we do more fun and games and just engaging them and things like that. And I feel like it was when we hit that point, there's a sweet spot of number, right? Like, you've got to get to at least, I'd say like 12 or so, where 6 can go one way, 6 can go the other to make it worth your while to be able to do drills and stuff.
Yeah.
And last year, we consistently had 15 and above at practice every time.
Nice.
And I feel like that's when I was like, this could be it. Like,
Yeah.
this is big. And we also finally we started out as a very young team. So all of our players were 5, 6, 7, 8. And now those players are 9, 10, 11, 12. And so I think that has made it seem more
Yeah.
real too,
Yeah.
because now they're not little kids anymore. They're 12-year-old
Mm.
athletes, right? And that's a big age.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
That's awesome. W 2 things. One, I did do my producer gave me a little bug in my ear. No, I don't have a producer, I'm kidding. Uh,
I
uh,
was like, "Dang, where's this?"
yeah, you're like, you didn't introduce me to them."
I'm looking around for, like, a hidden camera. Like, "What?"
No, I just Googled because I needed to know, it is not CP soccer is not a Paralympic sport.
Okay, thank you for looking. I
Yeah.
I didn't think it was, but I really didn't wanna sound stupid if it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The other question that I have is, do you know of any colleges that have CP soccer?
So, I don't know. Shay Hammond, who is on the national team, he went to I'm totally gonna blank on the school down south. Um,
Alabama.
no, that's the first thing that's coming to my mind. I feel like they're yellow and
Oh gosh, I don't know team colors.
I don't know. But wherever he went, he played, but he might have played on the actual team.
Okay.
So again, a lot of the like a lot of I actually so I went to that global camp a few years ago and helped coach it. And a lot of the players that are high level 17, 18-year-old players play on the able-bodied high school teams and college
Yeah.
teams. I mean, they're really good. So I don't know that there's any college teams.
So here's another one. In tennis,
Yeah.
I played on my middle
Yes.
school and a high school able-bodied tennis team,
Yeah.
in a wheelchair, and I got 2 bounces.
Yes.
Everybody else got 1.
Yeah.
Is there any rule differences that
There would not be.
there would not be?
If they're
Interesting.
playing on yeah. And the same goes I actually had a friend who's my sister's age who played soccer. She was deaf. And there's different rules for deaf soccer than
Yeah.
there are. And she played college and high school and no different rules.
If there was a rule difference, I guess one, do you think for these groups of people, these disabilities, do you think it's needed? And if it is needed, what would that rule difference be for soccer? Because I'm blanking.
So the only thing I can think of is the throw-in rule.
Oh yeah.
That's the only thing
Yeah, yeah.
because I can see somebody having an upper extremity affected and not the legs and not being able to do a normal throw-in.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I can think of.
I can see that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah, because it's not like,
Not like
oh,
offsides
you
or,
have to run slower. I
no.
don't know.
Yeah. There's no goalie I can't imagine that would be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Interesting. What's been the hardest part of building CP soccer?
Location. So we have kids from across I mean, we have Kentucky, Dayton, we have all across the greater like tri-state area. And I think just finding a central spot has been the hardest part.
Mm,
The field we're at now is in Newtown, which is by like Batavia, so it's not central. There are a few families that live there and love it, but the
okay.
rest of us drive 45 plus minutes to get there.
Yeah.
And we also do it on Wednesday nights at 5 o'clock, which is terrible timing,
Oh,
but that's what works with that field because they have other people that practice after.
yeah.
So that's been really hard. But and I do want to ask your opinion on this. I struggle because, like, as I said, tomorrow I'm driving 8 hours to go to Atlanta
Mm,
for 7, whatever it is, for my son's sporting event. And he practices at Cincinnati Country Day, which is a 45-minute drive from our house. And I've done that consistently.
mhm.
Um, and so I feel like, and again, I want to know this from your perspective. I wanna know, is the same commitment level, should I expect that people should be willing to make it work and drive 45 minutes to practice? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think, with adaptive sports in general, that's unfortunately something that you have to do.
Yeah,
Like I always give the example of there's one wheelchair tennis tournament in all of Ohio, and all the other ones you have to travel to.
yeah,
The closest one's probably Chicago or Michigan. There's one in Nashville as well.
yeah.
So it's like you have to travel a lot
Mhm.
if you wanna compete. Now, I I will say that, uh, if you're a more casual player, like, you have a lot less motivation to want
I
to
agree.
travel.
I agree.
Um, and so, yeah, location is key. I mean, the other problem you'll run across is even if you break it down into those smaller
Mhm.
communities, you're gonna have a lot less people. If it's just the Indiana crowd or just the Kentucky crowd,
Exactly.
you're gonna have, like, a couple people show up,
Exactly.
and then it's not soccer. Or, I
No,
mean, it is
absolutely.
you can, of course, do
But you
drills
can't scrimmage. Yep.
solo and all that. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can't scrimmage or do anything like that. So it's like it's an inevitability. You know what? One of the things that that caught my ear when you were talking was the 5 o'clock thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's I think a lot about okay, like you see that in tennis,
Mhm.
especially in indoor courts and stuff like that. Like there's prime time, and of course those businesses want to make money and don't want to offer you the prime time for free or a discounted rate or
Mhm.
whatever else. And so it's like, okay, well, how can we get enough money to pay for those prime time
Yeah.
spots?
Yeah.
And it's like, with Cincinnati Tennis Foundation, I know the bridge doesn't necessarily do it like this, but with Cincinnati Tennis Foundation, we'll charge people for the sessions.
Yeah.
And it's like if you can't, that's fine. We'll give it to you for a reduced fee or even free.
Yeah.
So and that's okay too. But there's downsides to that. Like, are we turning people away before
Mhm.
they get in the door and all that? So I don't know. It's tricky, and then like I've been thinking about this too. And this is maybe one of the motivations for starting this podcast is we need like a Ronda Rousey, if you know, in the MMA space
Mhm.
that like gets that community or Caitlin Clark in
Yep.
basketball, and it's like, regardless of what you think about like any controversy behind them or whatever else, it's like these people are what drew individuals to that, and that's where the money is.
Yeah.
So in the disability space, there's not I can't really I mean there's a couple big people on Instagram that like Aaron Fotheringham, I think his name is. He goes to skate parks and does a whole bunch of cool
That's cool.
things in his wheelchair, and he's also gone on there's some sort of circuit where like there's these huge ramps, and he'll go down these huge ramps and do jumps, and like they're probably 100, 200 foot jumps. I don't know.
That's awesome.
They're crazy, and like he can do flips
Dang.
and in his wheelchair, and it's like that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so of course people are gonna follow him, and he's got a pretty big following. But like we don't have that in the
Mhm.
tennis world. We don't have that in the basketball world.
Mhm.
Like, and it's like, what would it take to to train somebody to do that,
Yeah.
to get somebody out there to where they're well known to a large part of the able-bodied population,
Mhm.
because that's where the money's gonna
Oh,
be.
absolutely.
Uh, um,
Absolutely.
so I don't know. I mean, I just kinda went on a
No,
rant. Any
I
thoughts
totally
on
agree.
anything that I ranted about
No,
the
I
times and
yeah, I
all
was
that?
gonna say one thing on the time that we struggle with too is, again, we have younger kids, and so if we push it back, we get past bedtimes,
Oh.
and then bedtimes and drive times. So we struggle a lot with the time and the location. That's honestly our biggest struggle.
Interesting.
Because yeah, if we start at 6, we're not done till 7:30. That means they're not home and they have to shower.
Yeah.
Bedtimes for a lot of them are 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
8:30. So
Yeah.
that's another struggle.
So,
Um,
so I'm wondering, just a random thought. So, let me ask you this: how frequently is are these practices?
so in the spring and fall, we do 1 time a week for 6 weeks.
One time a week for 6 weeks.
Yes, so it's once every Wednesday for 6 straight weeks in the spring, and then every Wednesday for 6 straight weeks in the fall. And then
That's it. Just go ahead, keep
and
going. Sorry.
well, so then summer and winter, we do, like, usually 4 sessions kind of just sporadically, like, we'll pick maybe
Mhm.
a Saturday, or we actually do those at Mount St. Joe in the field house because of weather. So
Yeah.
summer, it's too hot, winter, it's too cold. So we do just randoms to kinda keep them going
Mm-hmm.
throughout. But yeah,
Got it.
so
Okay.
we usually do, so that's 12, 16, 20 sessions a year.
Okay.
Now there's other things on top of that. So like the top soccer event, they do a big fall classic, which is 1 day. So we usually take a couple, like all of our athletes who want to go up to that. So that's an extra. 1 year we traveled to Chicago with whoever could come,
Mhm.
and we did a 2 day event there. This year we had Chicago and multiple other, like somebody from Arizona, Columbus, lots of other CP team players come down to us for a 2 day event. So there's other things,
Yeah.
but our prime practices are 6 sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, we do tennis year round.
Yeah.
What stops you from doing it year round?
Honestly, I think it is coach availability.
Yeah, sure.
So Brenna and I do every single one.
Mhm.
And we have 5, no, 4, trying to think. Mark, Babette, Ben, Claire, 5 or 6 of us that come every single week.
Yeah.
And we all have families and
Yeah.
we all have real jobs. And
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot of time commitment.
Mhm.
I would love to do it all the time. I would
Yeah.
absolutely love to, but I would miss out on a lot of my own kids' stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think the end all be all goal would be to have coaches who want to coach the higher, more competitive team and do that on a different day,
Mm.
and then ones who are fine with just doing the more fun and games. And that way, it's you can kind of I don't know. I feel like that would be the ideal way because then those more competitive players, they should be training year round. Um, and the other ones, I think 6 weeks is plenty. They're
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure,
So that
sure.
would be the goal, but we just we run out of steam.
I get it.
It's a lot of energy.
Yeah. I mean, Dan, Brooke, Renee, they were kinda talking about that with Iron Core,
Yeah.
and it's like it takes so much to
Yes.
get people to do this, and takes so much coordination and all that, so
And I think we've done it for 4 years now, so I feel like our parents have gotten used to the times and the dates, and they honestly plan vacations and things around it
oh,
now.
great.
Because there's nothing more disheartening than showing up to a practice because you never know who's coming, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing more disheartening than showing up with 12 volunteers and there's 4 kids there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we at one point we tried a 2 time a week practice. We would do a Wednesday and a Friday at a we were at Wyoming Rec Center, so a different location to see if we could draw just different people. And those practices were a bust. And
Mm,
but we did it for 6 straight weeks and 4 kids showed up. I mean, it was great for those 4 kids,
right,
but
right.
yeah, like
Yeah.
we're doing what works right now.
Yeah.
We tried to expand and it wasn't time yet. So
Mhm.
we also there was another time where we tried to offer our more competitive players an extra training session, just them,
Mhm.
more one-on-one kind of stuff, like and, again, we only had 2 or 3 that showed. So
Ah.
it's just it's a lot to put in and to plan and
Mhm.
then have so
Yeah.
eventually, hopefully, but
Yeah, well, for me, like, I'm pretty much, but before my head stuff, I pretty much plan my week day to day.
yeah,
So, like, I'm doing something after work almost every single day,
yeah,
and it's like if you add on another day of, say, me coaching tennis, it's like, no, I'm already doing this other commitment, let's say,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
it just doesn't work. So, one of the other things, and you kind of touched on this, but You were asking about location, and like I wonder if there's like a way. I mean, and maybe they already do this, but I wonder if there's a way that you can get the local communities there to like do like a one-on-one thing or whatever else, and
Yeah.
like in those different locations. Again, that's a lot to coordinate, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, one of the first years, actually it was I think the first season, maybe the second season, we used to use FC Cincinnati. They have those little mini pitches kind of
yeah.
around town, and we used the one in Madisonville, and there was another one that we went to, and we kinda did the first 3 weeks at one, the second 3 weeks at another, just to kind of get a change of pace, but we outgrew those spaces because 'cause they're so contained and
Uh,
little, so that we lost that. Um, we have tried to call so many, like, local soccer clubs like Miami Whitewater and different things like that. There's so many teams, they just don't have again, it's prime time, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Interesting. What's the season for CP soccer? What's the months?
That we do it.
Yeah.
We usually start mid-April and end kind of end of May,
Uh-huh.
for the summer, and then the winter we always or fall. That's wrong. Spring. For the fall, we usually start in September, and we always end the week of Halloween because our last practice, we always have them all come in costumes,
Yeah.
and we do a trick or treat, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What's been the hardest part about building this? And tell me if I asked you this question already, because I'm having deja vu.
Yeah, I mean, I basically said the
Uh,
location piece of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then what are you most proud of?
Honestly, I am most proud of the amount of kids that we've had come back year after year,
Yeah.
and seeing the growth in them, and they, like, look forward to the season. We probably have, again, a good 12 to 15 who maybe weren't there at the very, very beginning, but who have been there for a while. Um, and the parents have become such good friends, and I think that's super important too. I
Mhm.
mean, it's one thing for the kids to become friends, but the parents to have people that they can vent to and I mean, such good friends. So I think that to me, it's the community that we've built.
Yeah.
Um, Not necessarily, I mean, yes, I'm super proud that we sent a couple kids to a big global camp and we were able to pay for it with the money we've fundraised and like, yeah, I'm very proud of that, but I think it's the community we've built. Like these
Yeah.
kids have become best friends with each other and their parents too.
Mhm.
Like they see each other now outside of that. They never would have met without this. So that's probably
Mhm.
my favorite.
I love that. Okay, we already talked about those. Tell me about an athlete who changed how you saw CP soccer.
Um,
If you can't think of anything, I know I'm springing that
no,
on you.
that's okay. So honestly, I think it would probably be the sweet boy who uses his forearm crutches.
Mhm.
Um, I think he's 12 or 13 now. We haven't seen him in a while. He actually does sled hockey too. He's an athlete. He swims too. But they live in Dayton and his parents would bring him down all the time. And he was one who I reached out to at the beginning and I told his parents, like, nobody else has crutches.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see how he does. And I kid you not, best personality you'll ever have met. I mean, he's witty. You should have him on your podcast. He
Yeah.
is funny as all get out. One-liners out the roof, but he's a Steelers fan, so we joke with him that we can't like him. But
Yeah.
he like I just every time I watch him, I'm just like he just gives it his all and he doesn't care that he's a little bit slower than the rest of them. There are times where he will throw his crutches down and try to go for the ball without them, which we're all like, that's so cool. You know, he's like just free to be his own self. And I don't know. It's just really cool to see because he's got a twin brother. And his twin brother comes and plays with us sometimes too. And
Yeah.
his twin brother plays able-bodied soccer and is legit like really good.
Yeah.
So it's it's just really cool. Like, he's probably one that changed the way I thought about it because I was like, "We can't limit kids just because they're on their crutches." I mean, he is not afraid to get in there. He always jokes and says he likes playing goalie because
Yeah.
now he's got 4 extra legs on the ground, right? He's got all kinds of yeah, he's probably my one that changed my thoughts on everything.
That's awesome. I was on crutches until about 5th grade.
You said that. Yeah.
And I played soccer when I was on crutches, and I liked playing goalie as well.
Yeah. You got extra long arms and legs. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a moment where, a parent saw their child differently?
I think yes, and I think in really good ways. I
Mm,
think they see that what their kids are capable of.
yeah.
I think I mean, sure, we have fun. But we make them work. I mean, they're playing a sport, you know? Um, and I think they see what their kids are capable of and that they are able to do hard things and they're able to push themselves. I mean, we give them breaks, obviously, and let them do that, but I do think I think all of the parents would say that they see their kid differently now,
Yeah,
having played that.
yeah,
Number 1, from even just growing confidence, but also seeing there is there's more in all of these kids.
yeah,
There's more.
yeah.
Yeah.
So some of my favorite moments have been when a newer kid comes to try out tennis, and they
Yeah.
have to transfer into their tennis wheelchair, and
Mhm.
they've not done that before, and so it's like, they're often their parents want to help them, and
Yeah.
it's like some of my favorite moments is like basically pushing their parents out of the way and being
Yeah.
like, "No, no, no. I'm gonna teach him,
Yeah.
and or her, and we're gonna get as far as we can before we actually need help, and we're gonna watch your kids struggle a little
Yeah.
bit." So,
Yeah. You know what else I love? And I don't know if I would lump this in with a proud moment or an athlete that made me think of it differently, but we have so many players who come in timid. This just made me think about it.
mhm.
Who their first time, they're incredibly timid and shy and
Mm,
afraid. And so many of our kids are such good kids that they just run right over and they're like, "Hi, I'm so and so," and help all of them come out there. And I'm like, I
yes.
feel like as a parent, you have to be proud of your kid for watching them do that. I'm proud of them for doing that. They make me look at all athletes differently. Like, look how much you just opened up and accepted this person to come in here and welcomed them. And now she's out here playing, you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah.
I think that's cool too.
Do you have a funny moment that you can share within CP
Oh my
soccer?
gosh, we have so many. We have one little boy. His name, oh, he's the cutest. He's Abram. His mom will love me telling these stories. I call him Dennis the Menace. Did you ever watch Dennis the
Yeah,
Menace when you were little?
I
So
did.
he's got bright white, blonde, the hair, it's half sticking up all the time. He is a pistol, and I kid you not, every time in practice, he's like something comes out of his mouth that is hysterical. Like, he, again, has one-liners for days, and he's only 7,
Mhm.
so he's unreal. Um, I don't know that I could come up with a specific thing that he has said, but, oh my goodness. He brought furry pink handcuffs one time and was locking us up and putting us, because 'cause we've played, like, cops and robbers,
Yeah.
and he brought furry pink handcuffs and wanted to put us all in jail. Like, I mean, it's fun.
Where did he get
It's
those from?
trust me, I asked his mom. Oh, it's
Uh,
great.
it was in my mom's underwear
Yeah,
drawer.
exactly.
Sorry, sorry. Okay. What's a moment was there any? I'm sure there was. Do you have a moment that made you emotional?
Yeah, um, honestly, I think I would say probably some of those have come at the showcases that we've done. So we traveled, we started us in CP Chicago, the Midwest Showcase. So we went up there and traveled up there in 2024,
Mhm.
and I think we took about 13 players up there. I mean, we offered it to anybody. And actually, I was very proud because we were able to pay for one night of their hotel stay. So it was a Saturday, Sunday, which again was that's just super nice to me.
Nice.
But so we traveled, and this year we brought them down to us. But seeing again, if you've ever been in a competitive sport and traveled, you know what it's like to go get in the pool with your friends on your team,
Yeah.
or to eat breakfast with your friends, to stay in the hotel, to run around the hotel. And those kids had never experienced that
Wow.
aside from with their siblings,
Yeah.
right? They've never been the one that it was about them, that it was for them. So that was a super emotional time to me when we all had breakfast the next morning together
Mm,
and, you know, you just see them running around the hotel or they were all in the pool or out in the courtyard. Like they've never experienced that. That was the first time they got to be on a travel team that traveled somewhere and it was just for them. Like
yeah.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm thinking of different times that happened to me, but I won't get into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me about where all you've traveled. You've named a few places and any
Yeah.
experiences there that stuck out.
Yeah. So we've been blessed, both Brenna and I, in I feel like it was 2024 as well. We got asked by the US Soccer, CP Soccer Association to travel to New York for their global camp. So it's a sleepaway camp. That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 5 days, 4 nights. And it's lots of kids, lots and lots of kids with CP, plus the extended national team players come, and that is their like kind of time together too. So the year that we went, it was, as I mentioned, in New York, like somewhere Fort Anne, maybe. Um, and it it was super cool. So not only did we have kids from across the entire US, Ireland's CP soccer team came. So we had coaches from Ireland and all of the boys, the Irish lads that came. That was an incredible experience just meeting them. So they were there. The US deaf national team players, a lot of them were there too. It was opened up to them as well, and then the CP players.
Wow.
Um, and then I got to meet coaches from across the country that I never would have met, and that opened up some doors too. So that was really cool. That year, we did not have any of our players go because you have to be 10 or above. And at that point, we didn't have any that were old enough.
Oh,
So it was just Brenna and I went and coached, and it was a blast. I mean,
mm,
we learned how to do the classification training protocol. Actually, one day I got to use my PT skills because it was pouring down rain. So there was like an indoor kind of weight room, and I ran them through circuits of like PT stuff. So that was kind of fun.
cool.
Just a little, world collision
Some
there.
overlapping.
Yeah. So that was then. And then we went to Chicago, which was just Cincy and Chicago. And then Brenna and I got asked from somebody we met, one of the coaches at the New York camp, to go to Chicago again last year for the UASA soccer camp.
Okay.
So again, that had dwarf soccer, amputee soccer, CP soccer, and I think that was it. I think it was those three. Um, So we coached that as well too. Brenna, we were the head coaches for the CP group. So met
Cool.
a ton of amazing people there. That was again I think that was a 3-day event. So that was super cool. And then this year we brought the Midwest Showcase to us. So we held it at Mount St. Joe in their field house. We had players from Louisville. I think we had somebody from New Jersey. We had Columbus, Chicago, Michigan, Arizona.
Wow.
Like we had a lot of players. We had over I think almost 50 players.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. Maybe it might have been closer to 40, but either way, it was super cool.
You
Yeah,
talk about how developed CP soccer is, and it's mind-boggling to me that it's not a Paralympic sport.
I know. I know. I think that's why I said I'm pretty sure they're pushing to try to get it to be one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had Alec and Joanna on the podcast who they do adaptive boxing.
Oh, that's cool.
So she boxes from her wheelchair and does competition. And
Okay.
the reason that's not a Paralympic sport is because you need a certain number of countries who are interested.
Oh.
And it's so new and
Yeah.
it's growing, but
Well, that's interesting because I think CP soccer is more well developed outside of the US.
sure, yeah,
Like Ireland, they've got a huge program,
yeah,
and I know they travel. I'm gonna say do not judge me. I was a math geek, not a geography and history person. They're not states, but they travel to different I guess they're still countries right around there, right?
yeah,
Ireland's a country. They travel to different countries and
yeah,
play different teams.
yeah.
So,
Generally speaking, I think Europe is more established with their adaptive sports as
it
a whole,
seems
so
like it.
that wouldn't surprise me if
Yeah.
DP soccer was
Yeah.
in that as well. Um, okay, moving on. Why do you care so much about the disabled community?
Honestly, I don't even know that I care about I don't care. I don't care about the disabled community. I care about people in general,
I'm
right?
flipping that.
Yeah, clip that. Put that one
Chris
right out there.
Christy doesn't care
Doesn't
about
care.
the disabled community, guys.
I care about everybody living their best life, honestly. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I just want I guess because I've seen so many people's lives change, so I guess it is about the disabled community. I've seen so many people's lives change for the worse from some sort of injury.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do peds, so I haven't seen many people from birth, with like spina bifida and things like that. I did that on my clinicals, but I don't treat them. But I've seen so many people with spinal cord injuries or strokes or whose lives have significantly changed in one day.
Yeah.
And to me, I just don't want them to ever doubt that they can't get back to something that they love
Uh-huh.
and something that they enjoy, whether it's the same thing or something completely different. I just hate when people don't feel like they have a future,
Mm.
right? And I want everybody to be able to feel like they have something to live for,
Yeah.
to have a passion. And again, I don't it doesn't have to be sport. I
Right.
mean, I love when I've gone to the SOAR Expo, like the different adaptive music stuff. I have
Mm.
0 rhythm in my body,
Me too.
but like how cool that you can play music in different ways or adaptive cooking if cooking's your thing. I
Yeah.
think that's why I care so much because I want people to be happy. I'm just a happy person. Like, I
Mhm.
want other people to be happy.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you don't know about what's out there, you can't you just can't find those things. And
Yeah.
yeah, some people are inherently happy on their own, and that's wonderful.
Mhm.
But some people need to know what they can do, and
Yeah.
that's why I care.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just like with therapy. It's why I wanted to be a therapist. Like, I mean, you can take like not even an athlete. You take somebody who I had a 21-year-old who got drunk and fell off a bar on her 21st birthday and tore her ACL. She was not an
Oh,
athlete at all, but she went from dancing on bar tops to not being able to walk. And I want to get her back to where she was happy and
yeah.
free and could do what she wants to do. So it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a great answer. I've been asking a lot of able-bodied people
Yeah.
that question who are in the adaptive sports world or
Yeah.
just adaptive world in general. So,
Yeah.
the answers are across the board.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's neat. Real quick, to the people watching, I do want to ask as we had this conversation, was there any questions about CP soccer that you wanted to ask and you wanted to hear and didn't get from our conversation? Just put it in the comments. Again, I read every single comment, and if I don't know the answer, I'll reach out to Christy and have her respond, or I'll respond on her behalf. Let us know. I'm very fascinated by it. I've not necessarily witnessed it firsthand, but I think I've gotten most of the questions answered, but let me know if I missed any. Um, I want to move on to the just a larger disability conversation. So, um, one of the things, and this is written out and it's kind of lengthy, so I'm going to read it, but this has been something that's been on my mind recently. It's some people act like only disabled people are allowed to speak for the disabled community, let's say. And I don't agree with that. I think lived experience matters, right? But also knowledge, experience, results, actually doing the work matter too. Um, and this question came up when ChatGPT kind of it framed a question in a way that was like, hey, I I ask Christy if like she ever speaks for disabled people and she shouldn't. And it's like I got really mad at that question
Mhm.
because it's like, but she's been in the disabled community. She should have a voice in that community too. And so my question is, as an able-bodied person working in adaptive sports, w- is there a line? Do you think Do you agree with my framing of the question of, like, some people act like disabled people are only allowed to speak for the disabled community? Like, I hate I personally, and again, I want you to disagree if you do,
Yeah.
but I hate the expression like, "Oh, I'm disabled. I'm not disabled. I can't speak to that." And it's like, no, like you have a mind
Yeah.
and you can speak rationally about it.
Yeah. I think it depends on what the topic of conversation is. I feel like I have lived in a small world of the disabled community.
Mm,
I feel like I could speak to a lot of what my players go through.
yeah,
I think if I worked in a setting where I worked more with disabled people, I feel like I could probably speak a little bit more on it.
sure.
Um, but I will never, ever, ever say that I know more than anybody or could speak better than them, or more appropriately. I always, and I say this to my patients, you guys know your life, you know your body better than I ever will.
Mm,
Even as a therapist, even if I've learned every nuance to what your disease or disability has, everybody's got something different. So you know you better than you.
yeah.
But I do think I have actively listened, let's take it back to that. I have
Sure.
actively listened to enough disabled people that I feel comfortable speaking for the things that they wish they had, or, the
Mm.
accessibility issues and things that I see from the outside looking in. That's so I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, it absolutely does. You mentioned in your small perspective or
yeah,
your small bubble of what you've seen, right?
yeah,
Like my like I feel like that's minimizing what you've actually done to a certain extent because I mean, even I'm in as a disabled person, I'm in my own little bubble.
true. That's true.
I've had so many like conversations about like, here's a great one. I have believed until this podcast that it is completely acceptable and people are overreacting when they say you shouldn't ask people what their disability is. I've always thought that. Now, I'm born with spina bifida.
Mhm.
It's a very easy thing for me to say. I was born with spina bifida. I'm paralyzed from just below the knees.
Yeah,
Like, but, like, as I've been talking with people and, like, Micaiah and her story about domestic violence
yeah,
and, like, you know, thankfully, like, she's willing to come on and talk about that in case somebody else is going through something similar, but,
mhm,
that's not something a lot of people would wanna talk about from from why they got injured, and there's, Jake Counts was telling me, like, one of the reasons he doesn't like it when people ask him is because he got run over by a train, and the thousands of questions that
that
follow,
follow. Mhm.
and, like, again, for me, if somebody asks me, it's a very quick conversation. I can I mean, it can be longer, but I feel like you have to be in the medical field for you to really know what kind of questions to
Yeah,
ask me,
yeah.
but, like, with Jake, it's like, "You got run over by a train. Well, how did that
What?
happen? What were you
Yeah.
doing?" Like, all these questions,
Mhm.
and he doesn't have 10 minutes, 15 minutes to answer somebody's question that just asks him along the street.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess going back to the original point of this conversation is I mean, even me as a disabled person, I am in my own world as well.
That's true. That's I never thought about it that way, but that is so totally true.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only exposed to what you're exposed to. And I
Yeah.
guess that's true in any situation, whether it's I mean, disabled or able-bodied, whether it's healthcare or education or, you only know what you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd never really thought about it that way, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess back to the conclusion of my point was I think able-bodied people have every right to talk on behalf of disabled people, and I say that from a stance of I know that if I asked you your opinion about the disabled community and you didn't know, you didn't have the experience, you didn't have an answer, you would say, "I don't know."
Yes.
But if
Yes.
there was something that was very specific to, I don't know, CP Soccer and
Mhm.
like how you built the program and all that, you would have an answer,
Yeah.
and you'd probably know a hell of a lot more than me
Yeah.
about how to do that.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
so it's like I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting topic to get into.
It is.
So
No, that absolutely is. And I do agree. I mean, I feel like I could generalize some of the things that I know and could generalize it to a lot of the disabled, population as far as again, from a healthcare perspective, as far as accessibility and all that. Like I think I could speak on that
yeah,
for anything.
yeah,
But as far as like lived experiences and how on certain topics, I feel like my small CP bubble, I feel like I could explain a lot of how those parents feel and how the kids feel.
yeah.
I've listened and learned a lot in the last 4 years. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And for me, like again, spina bifida, I don't have cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily interact with many
Mhm.
people who have cerebral palsy, so it's like you're gonna know a lot more than me
Yeah.
about cerebral palsy. And just because I'm disabled doesn't mean that I should be speaking on it over you.
Exactly. No, absolutely. I
So
completely agree.
anyway, let us know in the comments
Mhm.
what your thoughts are on this. I'm very curious. I think it'll ruffle some feathers this point of view that I have. I have a lot more that I'm sure I mean we've talked about a couple of them
Yep.
like the words and all that.
Mhm.
Okay. Next one. Um we kind of talked about that. We talked about that. Have you ever disagreed with a disabled person about what actually is best for disabled athletes or themselves? And I guess you can talk on your experience with PT because I think you've kind of already answered that, but I think you can talk about either if you don't have an example within the disabled community.
Yeah, I don't think I do from just an outside world. From a PT perspective, gosh, I don't know. I mean, there are times where I don't know that I would say I disagree with people. I disagree with a lot of the caregivers and what they're, again, the enabling and that sort of thing. Um, I tend to be a glass half full person. So I guess a disagreement is when people feel like they're down and out, and I'm like, there's more,
Yeah,
let's keep pushing. Um, but I don't know that I've ever had an instance where I would say I like thoroughly disagreed with something,
sure.
anything.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Okay.
I'd have to
N-
think, but I don't think there is.
No worries. Do you think professionals or the general public are sometimes afraid of saying the wrong thing they avoid? Wow. Let me take a step back. So we kind of talked about
Yeah.
this earlier, but do you think that people intentionally avoid the disabled
Mhm.
community?
I do. I do. And I think it's because they don't want to overstep. They
Yeah,
don't want to offend. Again, sometimes you want to know what's going on, but
yeah,
you don't want to. That's a personal question, so you don't want to ask.
yeah,
There's the fact of, you know, and I think this is a terrible stigma, but you said it. People sometimes who can't speak well, you assume they don't have good cognitive abilities, and so they avoid talking to them for that reason. Or I do. I feel like it's a terrible thing, and which is why we talked about the words at the beginning. I just feel like there's such a barrier for a lot of people that they're, like, afraid. It's like, it's almost like, "I'm gonna catch it."
mm,
Like, "If I get close to you, I'm gonna catch your spina bifida," like that, you know what I mean? Like, I sometimes feel like there are people like that.
yeah,
I really do, and I don't know if it's a fear thing or if, like I said, or if they're afraid of offending
yeah.
or I don't know, I just I now I'm speaking in a very small population. I don't think that's true for the majority of people,
Sure.
but I do feel like there are people who
I wonder what percent feel like of the able-bodied population feels like that because I think it's probably larger than we would guess.
Really? You think so?
Um, yeah, like one of the things that I think I've set out in life to do is when I'm having a conversation with any new able-bodied person, I like I want to get rid of the elephant in the room. And so I will crack wheelchair jokes and
Yeah.
whatever else to show them that, hey, like you can approach me about
Yeah.
anything. That's not everybody's style, but that's my style. I love getting people laughing
Yeah.
about my disability.
Yeah.
Hence the t-shirts. Like so, I don't know. I want to ask about something else. And again, I had it. It was an earlier thing that you brought up. Um, oh, talk to me about and we can kind of like go back and forth on this one, but I'm curious. So like, I brought up like there's stupid landmines
Mhm.
that I think are ridiculous that people shouldn't be concerned about, like using the word disability versus handicap. I think there's probably 1% of the population that might get offended, and even if they do, I almost think that it's on them and
Yeah.
not on the person using the word, that
Mhm.
they just need to get over it. But that might be harsh. But my question is, what are the landmines that people can step on? A-
Um,
And I think we just as an example, we just named one
yeah,
is asking. There's a gnat in here.
I know it was by me before.
The one landmine. Did I get it? No, I didn't get it. It was on the floor. It was on the table. One of the landmines is asking people what their disability is.
Yes.
Like, feel the person out. Don't ask them up front.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're curious, but like let them tell you or get to know them before you
Mhm.
ask.
Yep.
W-
I think another one is, and I don't remember if it was you or if it was Jake when they came into my class, said like getting doors for people and holding doors for people. So, like, what's the etiquette, right? Like, if you're in front of me, you very easily can open a door by yourself. You do it day in and day out.
Yes.
Should I rush around you to open the door for you?
Yeah.
Or is that offensive?
Yeah.
Now, if I'm in front of you, sure, I'm going to open the door and hold it for you because I do that for anybody that's behind me.
Yeah.
But like, that's a question. I think it was Jake that brought that up. And I was like, that's actually, I've never really thought about that. I don't know if I've ever been in that situation, what I would do. But I feel like that's something. Um, the other thing, and I've never
Yeah.
done this, but
Real
yeah,
quick,
answer that. Yeah.
let's talk about that for
Yeah.
a second. I think I did mention it
Might have been you.
in the class as well, but because I love talking about it.
Yeah.
It's such a fat, like, if there's any interaction that goes on that's common in the disabled world, in the yin and yang almost between able-bodied and
Yeah.
wheelchair, it's opening doors.
Yeah.
It's one of the most awkward interactions that you can have with an able-bodied person, which I intentionally do.
It was you.
Uh,
That sounds
yeah, okay. Yeah. I intentionally do that, and it's just fun to see people squirm. That sounds so like I'm a terrible person, but I really, like, I want somebody to think about it after, and I want somebody to be like, "Wow, that was awkward. Why was that awkward?" Or whatever.
just opening a door. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but the thing I think I mentioned this as well is, you see somebody in a wheelchair and, I can see if they're a quad because
Yeah.
I can look at their hands and I know what
You know
that
what it
looks
looks
like.
like.
I know
Mhm.
what their forearms will look like if they have low motion in their hand. I also can probably pretty accurately tell just by how they're pushing
Yeah.
what their injury level is. Nobody else can do that, right?
Mhm.
The average able-bodied person can't do
Mhm.
that. So it's like, I think it's probably better to err on the side of caution and not know what the person's capability is and open the door, right? But I think the gosh darn it, the stupid gnat. Hope you guys are getting amusement out of that. I'm sorry for disrupting the flow, but I think where it becomes the problem is if you do this dance of I open the door for you, you still think that I need help and you still try to hold that door the door open.
Yeah.
And you just make it so incredibly
Yeah.
awkward as a result of that.
Yeah.
And so, the other thing is like, just asking, "Do you need help
Yeah.
with that?"
Mhm.
And if they say no, don't help them. Like, like, I was at a buffet, and one of the staff came over and was like, "Hey, can I help you with that?" I'm like, "No, I got it."
Mhm.
And she goes, "No, let me help you." And I'm like, "No, I got it." And I continued to get food, and then she reached for the plate, and I was like, I I got a little bit more
Yeah.
hard. So I was like, "No, I got it. Please let me
Yeah.
do this." Or I don't think I even said please, but I was like, "No." Like, and so I think I've gotten, especially working with customers and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and like being in like different leadership roles, I've gotten pretty good about like, that escalation tier of
Yeah.
like, "No, thank you. That's very nice of you, but I got it." And to no, I need to be very stern with you because you didn't get it the first couple times.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what could solve everything is just listening, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Mhm.
listening and also like I I don't know if your preconceived notion is you think they can't and you just watch them do it, keep going.
Yeah.
Now, I think I also mentioned somebody I was with who I knew fairly well, but hadn't gone out in public, let's say, much. It was a friend's family member.
Yeah.
Um, we were out in public, and I opened the door, and this person's like, "You're gonna make me look like an asshole in front of everyone," and it's like, "Oh, that's that's true."
Yeah.
'Cause if someone's watching me open the door for an able-bodied person and somebody else watches, they might think that able-bodied person is a jerk, and it's like, I never thought of that. Um, it's not true, but I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the comment about just asking, like, "Do you need help?" Right? Or, "Can I help you with that?" Because I would do the same thing if there was a woman with 3 kids in tow, like, "Can I help you?" And if she says,
Yeah.
"No, I got it." Okay, great,
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm glad that you're okay with that would be an okay thing, because I mean,
yeah,
that's just, again, a polite thing. I was raised to be polite and ask people if they need help, if they look like they're struggling. But again, if you don't look like you're struggling, there's no reason to ask,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
What are you were gonna mention another
I know, I was
landmark.
trying to think. My finger crossed didn't work either. I tried your trick. There was another thing I was gonna say. I don't remember what it was, though. Gosh, I don't know. Oh, I do remember.
Oh, yes.
Okay, perfect. So I have always been taught, and this is from a healthcare world, that you should get, and I feel like I know exactly what you're gonna say because it is dumb. You should get on eye level with somebody when you're talking to them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But, like, I'm not gonna squat down to talk to you, like, that seems very offensive.
Yes.
Like, how does that get perceived, like, in your world? Again, I feel like that's something people like, that goes on in my brain,
Mhm.
and I'm sure other people's brains,
Yeah.
especially, like, when I was up in Chicago and there was the dwarf soccer.
Mhm.
Like, how do I like, I mean, I just talk to him again like normal, but it feels
Mhm.
like a power move when I'm standing up over somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's another, again, a landmine, I guess, where it's like it goes, the wheels are turning in your head like, What do I do?"
Yeah, yeah, that is an interesting one because there have been times where that's been okay.
Yeah.
Like I think I gave the example of I was in a stadium and it was that we were in the handicap seating and they made my friends not use the chairs. Um, and so they were standing and I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
But then they're talking
And you
and the
can't hear it.
stadium's loud
Yeah.
and I can't hear it. So it's like, I want them to be on my level at that point, you
Yeah.
know? So maybe in louder settings, but like, um, I I haven't observed somebody getting down on my level. The only times that I've been that like I can clearly define where I've had a problem is if someone gets down and then touches my wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
They lean on it or
Yeah.
something like that. It's like, this is part of me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Um, but, like, it's one of those things where, like, how do I interact with that person
Yeah.
if they do, right? Because, uh, there's so many people out there that are walking on eggshells in the disabled community because of sometimes because of stupid things that people in society are saying, "Oh, you
Yes,
shouldn't say these words," or whatever
exactly.
else. And so it's like, how does like with the door thing, the reason I like doing that so much is because it's a non-aggressive way of showing somebody a different perspective
Mhm.
almost, you know? And so like if someone's bending down and leaning on my chair, I might tolerate it for it really depends on the situation, right?
Yeah,
But I might tolerate it for a little bit, or I might just move my chair.
yeah,
Like just start to slowly move my
yeah,
chair and like I don't know, do something in that fashion. But I in those interactions, I do wanna make sure that that person knows that that's not an okay thing to do
mhm,
without them saying like, "Oh, well, what other landmines am I gonna step on within the disabled community?"
yeah.
Like, I don't know what the answer to that necessarily is. I don't know if you have any thoughts, but
No, I don't know the answer by any means, but I mean, I can equate it in my situation, like for anybody who just gets too close to talk to you, right?
yeah,
Like anybody who's up in your personal space, it's the same kind of thing. And I mean, you just kind of slowly back away and you hope they get the hint,
yeah,
and you're not trying to be rude, but like, this is my personal space,
yeah,
get out of it.
yeah.
And that's coming from, I am a very touchy feely person.
Mm,
I constantly, for my patients, if they're laying down doing exercises, if I'm teaching them or talking, I put my hand on their knee. Like that's who I am.
mm,
But it's people I've gotten to know well. It's more personal conversations. It's not just a random like,
yeah,
you know. Um so I feel like that's kind of a tricky thing too. But I get that. I mean, I don't want somebody just randomly coming up and leaning on me when they're talking to me that
yeah,
I barely know.
yeah, yeah.
Um
But it's like, I don't know, I'm curious, like, if I came over and, like, leaned on the arm of your chair, is that different? Or would you still feel
I would feel like you were too close.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
sure.
mean, you'd be that's real. Now, if we're looking at something together and you lean up on me,
Mhm.
sure, like that's fine.
Yeah,
Again,
I've had people do that,
situational.
like, we're looking at my phone, or they're
Yes.
like, "Okay, let
Yeah,
me"
situational.
yeah,
But
'kay.
again, like you said, that's you. Like
Mhm.
you are attached to that all day.
Yeah,
It's not like that's like somebody just coming over and leaning on my leg.
yeah, yeah.
Like
It
I wouldn't like that.
yeah,
So I get it.
it is like that, but, I mean, obviously, those people who do that
Don't think that.
don't think
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think common sense says that to the majority of people that you just don't do that.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
but there's just some weird people. I don't know if they're weird, but
No,
there's
just
just some people out
they're
there that
space invaders.
yeah. Any other
I
landmines?
had one more. I crossed my fingers again. I'm
Yes.
start using that. Um, so the other one that I always worry about, and again, I don't know how to like, I guess you just wait and see is, you're introduced to somebody. You're taught to shake hands with people.
Mm,
So like, do you stick a hand out when you're like, but what if they can't use that arm? Or what if that's their bad side? Do you use your left hand? Do you wait for them to and like, I mean, that's just again, not every situation do I shake somebody's hand, but
yeah,
there are many professional times where you go up and you want to shake a hand. So how
yeah.
do you broach that? What do you think?
So I am obviously thinking about it from the perspective of CP soccer,
Yeah.
and some people with with cerebral palsy have one side that's more affected than the
Yeah.
other. However, they still can in a lot of cases use that arm.
Mhm.
They could probably still extend
Mhm.
even though it looks like
Yeah.
they're they're not able to use it.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I have both of my hands working, so
Exactly.
I
I mean, and I usually still would, and I don't mind shaking a hand even if the hand is fisted, like,
yeah,
it's fine. That doesn't bother me, but I didn't know is that I don't know. I don't know what that is perceived like from somebody who is
yeah,
I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I would think what would I do in that situation? Um,
I mean, because I wanna treat people with respect the same way I would anybody, right? So I'm gonna shake a hand.
right,
So that I don't wanna not offer that,
right,
but
right. But so I think I kind of go back to treating them like everybody
yeah,
else, right? And so I would be shocked, and again, I don't know this, but I would be shocked if someone who didn't have function of the right arm got
would
offended
be offended.
by this.
Yeah,
They probably get it all the time. Is it annoying to them because they get it so much? Maybe. I don't know. I doubt
yeah,
it. They've probably gotten over that pretty quickly, and they'll be the ones that will change it up.
yeah,
And like, I can just see an interaction being like, you extend your right hand, and they're like, oh no, let's.
yeah.
But I I think a lot of people would want to shake left to left
Mhm.
instead of like kinda like
Yeah,
grasping, yeah, grasping like that, so,
makes
um,
sense.
yeah, anyway, I wanna bring the landmines topic up with other able-bodied
Uh-huh.
people,
I'd be interested.
'cause I wanna know, like, for example, like, with Brooke, when I had her on, like, she's fairly new to the
Mhm.
disabled community, so I'd wanna know, like, what other landmines she's thought about
Yeah,
or whatever else, so,
yeah.
anyway, um okay, let's,
I was just wondering that.
what time?
I have no clue. Not
Take a guess,
not
take
any
a guess.
clue. I mean, it's over 2 hours, but I have no idea.
We're at 2:54.
For real?
Yeah,
No way. Dang, that does go fast.
it does, it goes so fast.
Man.
I have, a bunch of different segments as well. Let me ask you, I like to, and this might prompt another, discussion, but let me just ask you one thing from this. It's, it the and I'm still trying to figure out a name for this. But I want to read you an assumption, and you tell me if you think that assumption is true, false, or it depends.
Okay.
So, um, the first one is PT school does not teach enough about nutrition.
I would say true.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then I want you to explain after you give your answer.
Um, so we at least in our curriculum and from what I've seen, we just went through accreditation through the big accrediting body of PT curriculums, and there is a very, very, very small piece that says you have to talk about nutrition, but there is not like any it is a teeny, teeny, tiny piece of all of the things that have to be taught. I think it gets brought in sporadically,
Mhm.
but there is never I mean, we talk about it in like an exercise physiology class, but not like what, gives you what carbs do and that sort of thing, but there is not a good nutritional plan type of thing for
Mhm.
I definitely don't think so.
So with my head issues,
Yeah.
I've probably been to, I don't know, 10 different
Yeah.
doctors, let's say, trying to figure out what's wrong
Yeah.
with me. And I've asked every single doctor, what can I do from a health and nutrition standpoint?
Yeah.
And some of them have said, oh, I stopped working out because like any movement was escalated my symptoms.
Mhm.
And so they're like, "Oh, get back to working out." But, like, there was only one that mentioned any sort of vitamins that I could take that could potentially help.
Yeah.
Just one out of all those
Crazy.
doctors.
Crazy.
And it's like, I wonder if this is the case for physical therapy
Yeah,
as well.
it absolutely is. It's unfortunate because honestly, if you read, there's a ton of information now about how the gut, like, drives your
Yeah,
body,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it is unfortunate.
And it's like, the common answer that I hear for, like, why that is it's like, "Oh, well, the money's not there." And it's like, is that true, though? Because there's so many people in that space that really care about people
Yeah.
and not money.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, money's good in doctorate fields
Mhm.
or whatever, but, like, I don't know. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, but I promise you the money is not why we chose the profession we chose, but,
Sure.
I think there is so much that has to be taught in a very short period of time. Because when you go into the PT like curriculum, you have to be taught everything from in utero up to 105 years old,
Uh,
from neuro to muscular to cardiopulm to there's just so much. It's not like you specialize from the get-go. You
yeah.
don't say, I want to only learn this. Um, and the other problem is there are with prices and things like that, schools are really expensive
Uh,
and students are wanting to be done faster. So, I
mm,
mean, I'm just speaking on the now, not why previously, but there's a lot of schools that are cutting back to like be 2-year programs instead of 3-year. And because, they get them done faster. So you're cramming so much into such a short amount of time.
mm,
I think what could be done and the answer for it is there needs to be more continuing education that can be
mm.
done after you
Oh,
graduate. So we're
interesting.
we're all required to take extra classes after you graduate. Like you have to have 24 continuing ed hours every 2 years.
Mhm.
Like you have to. So I feel like that's the area that it could be really kind of fleshed out and taught. But again, that's only gonna be a select few of therapists who choose to take those courses.
Yeah.
So
So I think about like you mentioned like oh there's so much that you have to learn and like so I'm thinking about like okay let's and it doesn't matter what they are necessarily but let's rank those things from a
mhm.
scale of like number 1 being the best all the way down to 1005 like
Yeah,
however
yeah.
many there are, right? And I would think nutrition would be in the top 10.
It should be. I mean, again, it drives so much of our body function,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah. No,
And
you don't have to. I was
yeah, I
just
just think it's a nutrition is gonna be different for every single human too. So, like, if you have at whatever age you are, whatever race you are, whatever your comorbidities, your past medical history are, like what you need to eat is different than what somebody with vestibular problems needs. And
mhm,
so I just don't know that there's just the time to
yeah,
teach that. And I don't know that any student would be able to grasp all that in the time that they have.
yeah,
I do know our exercise physiology class, like all that should be brought in as far as what's important to eat prior to exercise and for a healthy diet and that, but
yeah,
not like a from a healing perspective.
right, right, and like, someone comes in with joint pain, it's like, I would imagine, I could be wrong, maybe somebody more in in, like, the primary care physician
Yeah.
role would know this, but, like, I would imagine you would be able to name what pharmaceutical drugs are good for that instead of the vitamins and
Oh,
minerals,
absolutely.
and it's like
It's the wrong way to think about it, but yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm very fascinated by this concept, especially since I've been like, you know, I've been having to do a lot of stuff on my own
Yeah.
research and all that. So, which by the way, the vitamins that she recommended helped.
Really? Which
Um,
ones were they?
so I'm taking vitamin B2,
Okay.
400 milligrams, coenzyme Q10,
Okay.
which I've never heard of until she mentioned it,
Yeah.
and then magnesium, which I
Okay.
was taking regularly anyway.
Okay.
Um,
That CoQ10, I took that when I was pregnant. I wonder if that
oh,
has if there's any correlation, like,
yeah,
on why I was taking it then versus hmm,
interesting.
that's
Uh,
the only time I've ever taken that, but I was told to take that.
was it for baby's health?
I don't remember.
Okay,
I wasn't super nauseous or anything, so I know it wasn't for that, so maybe it was
yeah,
just for the baby, but
yeah.
hmm,
She was this was specifically for like I don't know if it's called ocular migraines or like
yeah.
just migraines without the headache.
Hmm,
She was thinking that that could be something, and I've been taking it. I have always said I don't know if it's placebo or or
if it's
what,
working, it's
but
working.
it seems to be working.
Good.
So yeah. Anyway, um, I some people might be wondering what I keep talking about with
Yeah.
my head issues. I'm not going to explain it on this podcast. I have explained it on another one. There's one like 1 week that I just put out that segment because I missed the podcast. So you can find it on my channel. I go into all the details. So um, anyway, okay, it's 3:03. Can we do another assumption or should we
That's fine.
wrap up?
We're good. One more. We're
Okay. Um, let me find a good one. I planned a whole bunch out just because I wasn't sure what the flow was going to be, and I wanted to pick some good ones. Let's see. Let's go another one that's we've actually talked about a lot of these. Like some parents need to let their disabled kids fail more.
true.
Oh, here's an interesting one. Um, inclusion is overused as a buzzword. True or false? And if this is gonna get you in trouble, we can move on.
It might. We might need to move on.
Okay, okay, that's okay. That's okay. To be clear, I think and again, you don't have to respond, but I think yes, it often is. I think people put disabled people on Nike commercials because of the feels and all that. So,
Mhm.
anyway, that's my thought. You don't have to answer that. Let me get another one. Again, another one is disabled people are not automatically right about every disability issue, and we talked about
Yeah.
that. Able-bodied people are sometimes too scared to be honest in disability conversations. We kind of touched on that, but
Um,
it's a little different perspective.
Speaking for me, I would say false, but I think again, I feel like the general population would say true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too scared to be honest. I was thinking about that, and it's like w- I get that they're they may need to walk on eggshells, right? But
Yeah.
like, what's the honesty part that they'd be too scared to have?
I think the way I was thinking that is let's say I am having a fabulous day and my life is wonderful right now
Mm.
and I don't want to be honest and say that because I'm afraid it's going to, you know what I mean?
Like, like, yeah, I just went for a jog
I
and it
just
felt
it
great.
was wonderful to use my legs and yeah, like that's
Yeah,
kind of where my brain went with the honesty piece is. Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always make the joke. If someone's like, "Yeah, I just went for a jog" or something like that, I'll be like, "I wish I could do that." It's like I some people like really take it to heart. I'm like, "No, I'm kidding." Like,
I would respond back and say, "No, you don't, because jogging is terrible. Running is
yes,
terrible."
that's a great response. Okay. Well, let's wrap up. Before we wrap up though, I want to ask, what's one thing you hope viewers take away from this conversation?
I think one of the biggest things is finding I don't know, and this is from me, is finding something you are so, so passionate about in life
Mm.
and running with it whether you're scared or not. Um, Again, I was very passionate about wanting to help people, to be a PT, to be an educator, to start CP Soccer, but I was petrified of all of that. Um, and I did it anyway. So I think that's one thing is if there is something that you are really, really passionate about doing, you gotta not be afraid to fail. Because it's gonna happen. You're gonna be scared, you're gonna be nervous. It's stuff's gonna go wrong. But like you if you're really passionate about it, it's worth it. It's worth every little bit of it because I am so happy with where my life is now, because of the chances I took
Yeah.
in being scared. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. I think the other thing I would love everybody to know, and I think your podcast is doing this wonderfully, is just that there is so much out there
Mm.
for the disabled community that it needs to be shared.
Mhm.
That's the other big thing is share this podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, share every, the contact info, the people you've like seen on here, heard on here, follow them, share
Mhm.
them with family, friends, because the more all it takes is one person to say something to one other person and that life could be completely changed.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah. And if you're interested in getting started with CP Soccer in your area, because maybe it's not Cincinnati, you can reach out. I'm sure
yes.
Christy would be willing to help you
100.
out.
Absolutely. We helped Columbus get theirs started. We'd be
Nice.
more than happy to. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So if it's not in your area, any sport, honestly, you could
Mhm.
probably reach out to either of us, and we could get you connected with the right group to get you started. So,
Yep.
okay, where can people find CP Soccer?
So we have an Instagram page, and you're going to ask me what it is, and I think it's at Cincinnati CP Soccer.
Okay.
So an Instagram page. So follow us there.
I'll put it. By the way, I'll put it in the description so everybody can go down there and get the correct one
If that's not right,
if that's
yeah,
not right.
I'm
So
pretty sure it is, but if it might be CP Soccer Cincinnati, I don't remember which one it is.
mm,
So follow us there. You can also go to the Bridge Adaptives Instagram or Facebook page, and they link to us as well.
mhm,
So that would be our best method of contact. I'll
cool.
also give you my email in case anybody needs it.
Real quick, what about the bridge?
Yeah,
It's the bridgeadaptive.com, I
.org.
believe, .org.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the bridge adaptive, I think
On
across all
on
socials as well.
socials. Yep.
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 Okay. And then so you want to give your email publicly?
It's my Bridge email. So yes, I'm
Okay.
fine with that. Mhm.
Okay. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
It's, Christy, Christy Heinrich, Heinrich,
Okay.
at thebridgeadaptive.org.
Okay. And what about socials? You want to share any of those?
Yeah, you absolutely can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Christy Heinrich DPT.
Okay.
So same spelling. And then Facebook's just Christy Heinrich. Yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, but thank you very much for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It was a blast.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for coming on. It's been a blast
Thank you.
talking with you. I learned so much about CP soccer, and like it was fun bouncing the different controversial ideas off of you, and different solutions. So
Yeah.
I
Thank
had a
you.
blast.
Good.
We're at 310 right now. So yeah, thank you so much. Any last words?
Nope.
All right. Everyone, thank you for joining the Rolling Forward podcast. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, subscribe. Also, leave a comment about anything that stood out to you. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. That's not a landmine that you'll step on. So, but yeah, it means the world. And if there's anybody that you think would benefit from this conversation, please share it. It also helps the channel really grow. Lastly, if you want to get an I can't stand wheelchair jokes, or if you have an idea of a shirt an able-bodied person can wear that's along the same lines of this, it'd be really weird if I saw an able-bodied person wearing a shirt like this. So I wanna broaden, like I know some of my audience is able-bodied, so let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for what my next t-shirt should be. But you can get this at rollingforward.printful.me, and it says I can't stand wheelchair jokes. There's a bunch of different jokes on there that you can find. So anyway, until next time, keep rolling forward. Bye everyone.